Chapter 55-51. Fight 2. Madame Li's poo made her own husband frown. The more she couldn't hold it in and the angrier she was, the happier Li Ronghuan was. Elders? Aren't all my elders sitting at the table? Li Ronghuan raised her eyebrows and said, Also, your mother is only a second wife. She was previously an outside wife. In ancient times, an outside wife is a concubine. A concubine is a servant. How can a servant sit at the dining table? Li Ronghuan, you're too much. Madame Li was so angry that her face turned purple. My mother and my father have been in love for decades. She stayed by my father's side longer than your mother. What right do you have to talk about my mother? What right do you have? I'm too much. How am I too much? You're the one who's too much. I'm just letting my father and mother spend the new year with me and have breakfast together. You're stopping me. Father just left, and you don't care about him. Madame Li, am I too much or are you too much? Li Ronghuan continued to make things difficult for Madame Li and her daughter. Also, isn't it a custom to pay respects to the elders on the first day of the new year? Am I wrong? Go outside and ask someone, is it wrong for me to do this? Then why don't you invite Chu Hai out too? Madame Li had already been tricked by Li Ronghuan and fell for his words. Madame Li, are you really muddle-headed? Didn't you hear it just now? Paying respects to the elders on the first day of a new year? Then whose elder is Li Chu Hai? Li Ronghuan crossed his arms and looked coldly at Madame Li. Is a murderer worthy? Li Jinyan secretly watched from the entrance, and a faint smile flashed across his eyes. He really didn't expect his little uncle's ability to insult people to be so formidable. Help me back to my room. Madame Li, who was already so dizzy that she couldn't listen to him anymore. If she continued, she would be so angry that she had a stroke. Her face was ashen as she glared at Li Ronghuan with her pair of turbid old eyes. Her gaze was so cold that she wished she could turn into a knife and slice Li Ronghuan into pieces. Mom, you're so early. He'll be even more pleased with himself. Madame Li was unwilling to give up. If anyone has to leave, it should be him. After saying that, Mrs. Li grits her teeth again. She thinks that old Madame Li was so angry that she was sent to the hospital by Li Ronghuan before. If something bad happens to her today, Li Ronghuan will be more complacent. Jai, hurry and help your grandmother to her room. Take good care of her and don't make her angry again. Worried about old Madame Li's health, Madame Li could only take a step back. She could only take one step back and could not take a second step back. Du Jai secretly glared at Li Ronghuan and then helped old Madame Xiao Li back to the room. Why is little uncle so annoying? He's like a piece of rat **T, insisting on disturbing the family. Li Ronghuan was in a good mood after winning the battle single-handedly. He turned around and invited his brother-in-law, who he was willing to give face to. Brother-in-law, let's have breakfast first. Ignore them. No need. We already ate before we came. Du Wuqiang could not really sit down with Li Ronghuan for breakfast. He chose to refuse and went to the room to visit old Madame Xiao Li. She's so angry that she might fall sick. Since that's the case, I can only eat with my parents alone. Li Ronghuan sat down at the dining table alone and ate happily. He did not even bother to greet his elder brother. Li Jinyan watched the show from the side and walked into the living room. His voice was calm without any fluctuations as he greeted, Dad, little uncle, Happy New Year. Note, enter Panda Literature into the search engine to find this website. Thank you. Chapter 55-51. Happy New Year Fight 2. Chapter 55-52. Battle 3. When Li Ronghuan heard the voice, a smile appeared on her face. She put down her bowl and chopsticks and stood up. He wanted to go over and welcome them, but he glanced at his eldest brother, Li Tianhao, and frowned. In the end, he chose to sit down again. Jinyan, have you eaten breakfast? Do you want to sit and have breakfast with Uncle? Come back after you eat. Li Jinyan stood there without any intention of sitting down. Father Li glanced at his son and snorted softly in agreement. You've eaten? That's really unfortunate. That's right, the food here is full of smell. I'm afraid you'll have indigestion. Li Ronghuan didn't care. Anyway, as long as old Madame Li didn't have a good time, he would feel better. It was fine if his nephew didn't eat it. Anyway, his nephew didn't like it, so he didn't force it. Come over from Danguay Garden. How is old Mister's health? Are you all right? Li Ronghuan asked while eating breakfast. Logically speaking, I should also go to pay a New Year's greeting to the old master. But on second thought, I'm afraid that the old master doesn't like me, a member of the Li family. If the legitimate son-in-law doesn't go, why should I go? Forget it. I'd better not go and cause trouble for old sir. He didn't come to the Li family for dinner last night. He probably went to the old man's place together. Without the Li family, his nephew really didn't have any impact. He still had a home to return to. Li family. Huh. The Li residence is nothing. Yes, come over from that side. Li Jinyan replied indifferently. Uncle, you accompany Grandpa and Grandma to have breakfast first, then I'll light incense for them. When your grandparents find out how filial our Li Jinyan is, they'll definitely take good care of you. Li Ronghuan really liked how considerate Li Jinyan was, unlike his older brother who wanted to stay out of it. Was that even possible? He finished his breakfast quickly and placed the memorial tablet on the offering table with Li Jinyan. After Li Jinyan respectfully offered 3 sticks of incense, Li Ronghuan said, Jinyan, accompany uncle for a chat. Brother, accompany the guests. This is your favorite job. Father Li looked at his sloppy and shameless younger brother with a cold gaze. If he didn't need him to deal with the restless old Madam Li, he wouldn't even want to talk to him. Li Ronghuan's method was the best way to deal with those shameless people. With a cold expression, Father Li Jinyan glanced at Li Jinyan before nodding. If you leave now, no one will stop you. Aha, this is my home. Why should I leave? Housekeeper, send 2 cups of tea to my study. I want to talk to my nephew. Li Ronghuan deliberately raised his voice. Even old Madam Li in the room heard it. After he finished speaking, he put his arm around Li Jinyan's shoulder. He didn't care if Li Jinyan was willing or not, and directly led him to the study. Go, go, go. It's rare for you to come back. Us uncle and nephew must have a good chat. Li Jinyan didn't refuse. He still needed to know if the Li family had done anything to his younger sister, Yi Qian. Father Li looked at the figures with their arms around each other's shoulders as they left. His eyes were gloomy. He thought about the rumors from the past. There's no smoke without fire. If there really wasn't anything, would people talk about it? No. Flies don't sting seamless eggs. His gloomy gaze made Li Ronghuan want to throw a shoe at him, but he still endured it. I really can't stand your father's character. You don't come back so often. Coming back here makes me feel uncomfortable. The study they went to was Old Man Li's old study. Now that Old Man Li was gone, the study was naturally occupied by Li Ronghuan, the son who still lived in the Li family. Small note, enter Panda Literature in the search engine to find this site. Thank you. Chapter 55-52, Panda Fight 3. Chapter 55-53, Fight 4. When Li Ronghuan declared his sovereignty over the study, old Madame Xiao Li was furious. Li Jinyan entered the study and found that the study had changed from when old man Li was here. Li Ronghuan's style was reflected everywhere. How is it? What do you think of little uncle's decorations now? Li Ronghuan asked with open arms. Of course little uncle has good taste. Li Jinyan knew what he wanted to hear, so he was quite cooperative. In his heart, he did not completely let down his guard against Li Ronghuan. Back then, when I changed the study room into this, that old witch was so angry that she almost died. Li Ronghuan sat down on the sofa and chuckled. Didn't she say that she was the one who took care of everything in the Li family? All right, I'll change the Li family inside and out. After the new year, there will be renovations. I'm going to renovate the Li family inside out. I'm sure that old witch will be angry at me. So little uncle is now fighting a battle of wits and courage with them every day. Li Jinyan sat down and looked at Li Ronghuan calmly. Little uncle, aren't you tired? How am I fighting with them? Didn't you see it just now? I'm crushing them one-sidedly and angering them to death. Why did you come back when you were in the hospital? Now that I'm back, I'm just looking for trouble. Li Ronghuan laughed arrogantly and said, Anyway, as long as I'm here, I won't let that mother and daughter have an easy time. Tired? No, I'm not tired at all. As long as I see them being angered by me and having nothing to say, I feel great. Happy. Little uncle. Li Jinyin was not happy because of this. His cold eyes darkened a little. You're not happy. Li Ronghuan paused, and his eyes narrowed a little, but soon he slapped the table and laughed. How can I not be happy? I'm so happy. Let's get down to business. That stupid sister of mine went to look for your grandfather's old subordinates, hoping that they could investigate the cause of Li Chuhai's death and avenge Li Chuhai. However, how could I let them do as they wished? The smile on Li Ronghuan's face became even more contemptuous. As expected, they have inherited that old witch's pettiness. Don't they know that when the tree falls, the monkeys scatter? Those people who followed the Li family in the past were all willing to follow the Li family and help the Li family because of the Li family's resources. Now that the old man has left, she still wants to use her identity as the old man's daughter to kill people. How much face does she think she has? Li Jinyin was more interested in what he needed to hear. What's the result? In the end, of course, they were all perfunctory with her. Some of them even came back without even seeing her face. How laughable. Li Ronghuan did not hide the gloating in his eyes. She thinks that she can use her connections to avenge Li Chuhai. Her face is really big. Li Jinyin's brows were slightly knitted. If that's the case, then they can only think of other ways to investigate the truth and wait for an opportunity to take revenge. Sigh, I didn't tell you about this in advance. It's my fault. At the mention of revenge, Li Ronghuan showed some distress. If he had not been in a hurry to solve it, the old man's granddaughter would not have been exposed. Don't worry, I will continue to watch their every move and won't let them have their way. Revenge? Don't even think about it in this lifetime. Tip: enter Panda Literature in the search engine and you'll find this website. Thank you. Battle 4. Chapter 55-54. Battle 5. On the other side, old Madame Li was so angry that she smashed a decoration on the bedside table to the ground. She was so angry that even her eyes were bloodshot. Grandma, don't be angry. If you hurt your body, then he will be even happier. Du Jiai hurriedly comforted old Madame Shaoli. Her uncle's words just now were too infuriating. Don't be angry, don't be angry. We can't let his evil scheme succeed. At this time, Du Jiai was a considerate junior. Madame Li hurriedly added, Mom, Jiai is right. Don't let your anger affect your health. If you do, that little rascal Li Ronghuan will be even happier. Humph, accompany his father and that unlucky thing. Why doesn't he accompany them? Old Madame Shaoli swept the table lamp to the ground again. You're not leaving. You're deliberately keeping me here to anger me. Do you really think I'm easy to bully? Du Jiai was frightened. She took a few steps back and looked at Madame Li for help. Grandma had lost her rationality at this moment. No matter how she tried to persuade her, she would not be able to do so. Li Ronghuan's words just now. Your old madam is at most a second wife. Before, she was still an outside wife. This outside wife is a concubine in ancient times. This concubine is a servant. How can this servant sit at this table? Old Madame Li was so angry that she almost fainted. She had gone from being a mistress to being a legitimate wife. This was the proudest thing in her life, but when it came out of Li Ronghuan's mouth, it was so unbearable. She was indeed a mistress in the past, but so what? She was now the legitimate old Madame Li. Everyone had to call her Old Madame Li when they went out. What was so great about the first wife who didn't have the fortune to leave early? She left so early and didn't enjoy any fortune. And she had enjoyed it. From this, it could be seen that only those who lived longer were the true winners. Mom, don't be angry. We will find a way to deal with him. Madame Li looked at her mother's expression and went up to comfort her. I won't let her be complacent for too long. I'll think of a way to deal with her. Yes, I have to think of a way to teach him a lesson. Old Madame Shaoli, who was so angry that her chest hurt, leaned against the pillow. Her eyes were filled with viciousness. Go and find Luer. He is a ruthless person. Invite him to our Li family. Madame Li was shocked at first. Then, she lowered her voice and said, Lu Erzao has already washed his hands and asked him to come over. I'm afraid, if he washes his hands and doesn't do it, could it be that he really doesn't want to do it? You've raised a bunch of people. If you don't do some work, how can you raise them? Old Madame Xiao Li's face was already shrouded in viciousness. Her dry and thin face revealed an aura that made people feel apprehensive. Just go and invite them. Don't worry about the others. All right, I got it. Madame Li nodded, and her eyes were as cold as old Madame Li's. As long as Lu Er still takes action, Li Ronghuan will have no good days. You can also take a break. Outside the door, Duke Guoqiang slowly retreated, his face filled with suppressed anger. He knew who Lu Er was. When the old man Li of the Li family raised servants, they specialized in doing some dirty work. Later, when it came to old man Li's generation, the servants gradually stopped, and Lu Er's line also disappeared. I didn't expect there to be more. Lu Er was not a person's name. It was a name passed down from generation to generation among the servants of the Li family. It had never been changed. Even Li Ronghuan didn't know anything about Lu Er. But if Yi Qian were here, she would know. Tip: enter Panda Literature into the search engine and you'll find this website. Thank you. Chapter 55-54, Battle 5. Chapter 55-55, Fight 6. In her previous life, Yi Qian had escaped time and time again. It was all Lu Er's doing. All Yi Ying had to do was say something, and Lu Er would do it for her. In her previous life, Lu Er had become Madame Li's ally and was used by Yi Ying. This time, Lu Er had become Madame Li's tool to deal with Li Ronghuan. Li Ronghuan was still telling Li Jinyan about the Li family. Li Jinyan was relieved to know that Madame Li and Madame Li had been rejected. However, there were two people he was worried about, Li Jun and Li Qin. But Li Ronghuan had no news about them. Li Jun has not appeared since he left the capital. He can't be hiding in the country. He should have gone abroad. Li Chuhai's children are not stupid. They will not stay in the country and wait for death. As for Li Qin, there are no photos of her. We don't know what she looks like. But since she is a twin, she will naturally look like Li Jun. I will stay in the Li family and keep an eye on them. If there is any movement and you can't contact them, I will contact the higher-ups. You know Xia Xinhui, Master Xia's son. He is now the leader of the army. He even contacted me. Li Ronghuan was full of regret when he mentioned what he had done. How could he have known that Yi Qian was old Master Fu's granddaughter and Jin Yin's sister? He had been too impatient. He should have investigated more thoroughly. Then, he would not have ended up in this situation. Li Ronghuan sighed. Youngest uncle has to take responsibility for this. He was too impatient and too happy. In the end, he implicated all of you. Leave it to youngest uncle. I will keep an eye on Old Witch. Du Wuqiang will keep an eye on Li Chengwan. As for your father, he doesn't care about anything. He is a jerk. Li Jinyan looked up slightly. Youngest uncle, be careful with your words. Aha, you are so old-fashioned. What's wrong with scolding them? Is your father a good person? I am his brother. Even I despise him. But he is your father. As his son, you can't scold him. It's not that you can't scold him. Just don't say it out loud, but just scold him in your heart. If you really want to curse, find a place with no one around and curse to your heart's content. In the Li family, Li Ronghuan was an anomaly. You couldn't say that he was humane, but he didn't have any affection for his own brother or father. You couldn't say that he was heartless, but he treated his nephew, Li Jinyan, exceptionally well. She remembered Li Jinyan's mother in her heart. She had done her a favor back then, and she had been thinking about it until now. Li Jinyan had seen Li Ronghuan's information abroad. He was a painter and businessman, and his hands were not clean. However, he was especially good at children. He had donated a large amount of money to orphanages both in China and abroad. A few years ago, when he returned to China, he even went to a remote county to set up a welfare home. The first child he adopted was taken to school abroad. If you say that he was kind, then he was good. If you say that he was greedy for profit, then he was indeed greedy for profit. The children that he had brought overseas to study were all children with good IQs, good grades, and good overall abilities. They were all children with good aptitudes. As for the ordinary children, he promised that as long as they wanted to study, he would sponsor them until they graduated from university. If they didn't want to study, they would have to at least graduate from high school or technical secondary school. This was a businessman. He did good deeds and gained fame. At the same time, he groomed a group of talents for the future. Li Ronghuan was indeed the smartest person in the Li family. Tip: enter Panda Literature in the search engine and you'll find this website. Thank you. Fight 6. Chapter 55-56. Fight 7. She had given up the Li family's splendor and wealth and had carved out a broad path for herself. In the living room outside, the eldest son of the Li family, Li Tianhao, sat in the living room with a cold expression. After about half an hour, he looked at the time impatiently. After a few times, he raised his hand and signaled the servant in the living room to come over. Go, ask the 2 people in the study to come to the living room. Yes, master. The servant answered respectfully. Although it seemed like old Madam Li was in charge of the Li family, the servants actually listened to Li Tianhao's orders more. One was old and childless, while the other was at the peak of his career. Comparing the two, the servants knew which side to choose. This was the Li family, and Li Tianhao was the real master of the Li family. Hearing the knock on the door, Li Ronghuan knew who sent the servant before the servant could say anything. His eyes flashed with ridicule. Your father can't sit still anymore. Let's go and meet him. Then he slapped the armrests on both sides of the office chair and got up quickly. It was as if he wasn't going to the living room, but to a battlefield. A battlefield full of dangers and traps, where one would be smashed into pieces if they weren't careful. Just as he walked around the desk, he suddenly stopped. His expression became extremely serious as he reminded Li Jinyan, your dad only has himself in his heart. As long as anyone offends his interests, regardless of whether it's his son or his younger brother, he won't care about anyone else. I can stay in the Li family and stir up trouble because of your father. Currently, he's putting me, his younger brother, in the position of going against the old witch. He's just waiting for both sides to suffer losses before he can reap the benefits. I'm worried that he'll do something to you. For example, he'll ask you to stay at home. Jinyan, remember, you can't agree to it. I'm afraid that he's made a secret deal with the old witch and used you as a pawn. Once he's done with you, he'll abandon you without a second thought. Li Ronghuan knew his elder brother Li Tianhao too well. Everyone said that Li Chuhai resembled Old Man Li, but it was **T. The one who resembled him the most was Li Tianhao. Otherwise, why didn't Old Man Li push Li Chuhai to the position, but secretly give some power to Li Tianhao? Even the old demonic woman thought that Li Tianhao had worked hard for himself. Old Man Li and his eldest son, Li Tianhao, cooperated seamlessly. Outsiders thought that Old Man Li only liked the children of his second wife and despised the 2 sons of his first wife. None of them. Your father is a scheming person, just like your grandfather. Don't think that it's enough just because he's not in the Li family. He's the best at pretending to be innocent. When I was little, I suffered a lot in his hands. Now that I'm a little more mature, I can see the viciousness hidden under Li Tianhao's face. Li Ronghuan loved his nephew dearly and told Li Jinyan all the words in his heart. Even at the risk of being disliked by Li Jinyan, he had to say it. In fact, Li Jinyan knew very well what kind of person his biological father was. He just didn't say it out loud. Li Ronghuan said that he had received a lot of hints from him. As his own son, he had also suffered a lot. He had experienced a lot of being pushed out by his biological father as a scapegoat. It could be said that Li Jinyan's extreme distrust of others was mainly caused by his biological father, Li Tianhao. Fortunately, there was old Master Fu, Father Fu, and Fu Yuxing. It was the Fu family who pulled Li Jinyan back from the edge. It was also Father Fu who strongly urged Li Jinyan to enter the military academy and join the army. That was how Li Jinyan became who he was today. Tip: enter Panda Literature in the search engine and you will find this website. Thank you. Chapter 55-56, Panda Fight 7. Chapter 55-57, Fight 8. If he could not even trust his own father, how could he trust others? How could he let down his guard and accept another person walking into his life? This was also the reason why Li Jinyan did not want to change girlfriends and broke up with him so quickly. Li Jinyan, who had only experienced familial affection in the Fu family, felt it for the first time in the Li family. As Li Ronghuan's conversation deepened, the coldness in Li Jinyan's eyes gradually lessened, and his stern face warmed up a little. He was used to treating everything with a cold expression and was very good at pretending. So Li Ronghuan, who loved him, did not realize that his father had let down his guard against him. Seeing that Li Jinyan was still cold, Li Ronghuan became anxious. He raised his hand and knocked on Li Jinyan's head. "You stupid boy, why don't you have any expression? Do you think that I am talking bad about your father and trying to sow discord between you two?" Li Jinyan tilted his head slightly and avoided Li Ronghuan's knock. Seeing that his youngest uncle was anxious, Li Jinyan's cold eyes flashed with a smile. He thought that he should believe that his youngest uncle Li Ronghuan was really good to him and cared about him. Thinking about it, the Li family thought that his youngest uncle had not returned home for more than 10 years, but they did not know that his youngest uncle had come see him. At that time, his youngest uncle must have come back to see if he was doing well. Seeing that he was doing well and that his grandfather and uncle were taking care of him, his youngest uncle was relieved and left. Li Ronghuan, who missed his knock, was furious. He rolled up his sleeves and glared. "How dare you hide from me? Where are you hiding? The more you hide, the harder I will hit you." This brat always had a cold face. Even he, who had been abroad for more than 10 years, could not tell what he was thinking. He felt that he was a failure. Knowing that he could not hit him, Li Ronghuan rolled up his sleeves and did not embarrass himself. He pointed at Li Jinyan's nose and continued, "Do you have any feelings for your father?" "Bah, you do, but Li Tianhao does not. He didn't treat you as his son. You actually treat him as your father? Listen to my advice. Don't ever treat your father as your father again. He has a new home now, and he has a son and a daughter. His son is 20 this year, and you seem to be 30 this year. Do you see? His son is only 10 years younger than you. His daughter is also in her second year of high school. I heard that her grades are quite good. This year, she will be sent abroad to study at the same university as her brother. Look, his family is harmonious now, and his children are obedient and promising. They've all been sent abroad to study. On the other hand, have you enjoyed any benefits from him?" F***CK. There's no benefit at all. Instead, you threw him away like he was trash. It's already good enough that you didn't sever your relationship with him. This is infuriating. You. Are you stupid? Had he become an idiot after being a soldier? Do you only know filial piety? You don't know how to be flexible? Li Ronghuan was especially worried that Li Jinyan would be taken advantage of. If his son was taken advantage of by his father, he could only endure the pain by himself. He didn't even have a place to complain. Wake up. You have to think for yourself. You still have to marry and have children in the future. If you don't understand, your wife and children will suffer with you. Uncle has been taken advantage of before, and I don't want your descendants to follow the same path. There are not many good people in the Li family, including Uncle. None of them are good people. You are an exception. You're the only direct descendant of the Li family in several generations. Tip: enter Panda Literature in the search engine to find this website. Thank you. Chapter 55-57, Panda Literature Fight 8. Chapter 55-58, Fight 9. For Li Jinyan's sake, Li Ronghuan had become a mother hen. She was eager to protect Li Jinyan, afraid that he would be taken advantage of by Li Tianhao. Li Tianhao was the most hypocritical person in the Li family. Even his own brother had been betrayed countless times. You can't go astray. Stay away from the Li family and your father. Uncle will be at ease. Li Ronghuan's eyes reddened. Your mom will be at ease. The study became exceptionally quiet. Outside the window, sunlight spilled into the study. In the antique study, dust floated in the sunlight. Time seemed to have stopped. The kind woman who had once helped Li Ronghuan seemed to have passed through time and stood by the door again. She smiled slightly. "Ronghuan, you're still young. Don't talk back to adults. You'll only be at a disadvantage. Smart people know how to hide their strength and bide their time. They know how to secretly accumulate strength and then soar into the sky. You're a smart person. You should know when to show weakness. Showing weakness when appropriate doesn't mean you're weak, nor does it mean you're easy to bully. It's a survival skill that will allow you to live better." He had benefited from it his entire life. He had never forgotten it. "Jinyin, the person your mom is most worried about is you. You let her down. She only wants you to be safe and sound, not rich and powerful." The sunlight seemed to have passed through time and shocked the world. It also took away the kind woman who had died of depression. Ever since Li Jinyin could remember, no one in the Li family had ever mentioned his mother in front of him. This was the first time Li Jinyin stood in the Li family's house and heard someone mention his mother. He saw tears glistening in Li Ronghuan's red eyes. His hard and cold heart trembled slightly at this moment. "Uncle, I've never thought of returning to the Li family." Li Jinyin finally answered him. "This has never been my home." He had never treated the Li family as his home, because here, other than his mother, no one treated him as a member of the Li family. In the past, no matter how much he thought about it, he couldn't understand what kind of heinous thing he had done when he was young to be hated by his own family. Later on, when he grew up, he understood why his family despised him. Old Madame Shaoli hated that he was the eldest son and grandson and would fight for the Li family's assets. Old Man Li hated that he had a good relationship with the Fu family and did not listen to his arrangements. Later, on Old Man Li's birthday, he was schemed against by Old Man Li again. He gave Old Man Li noodles laced with rat poison. From then on, Old Man Li never liked Old Man Li. As for his biological father, because he didn't want to be watched by Old Man Li, because he was hated by Old Man Li, he was worried that he would be implicated, so he also hated him. Now, the elders of the other Li family members hated him. There was no reason for them not to hate him. Speaking of which, it was his own failure to be so disliked. Li Jinyin lowered his brows slightly, the corners of his mouth slightly pressed together as he said, "A family full of scheming is very tiring." Although his tone was cold, it made Li Ronghuan's chest feel stuffy. After a while, he put his arm around Li Jinyin's shoulders and patted him heavily. "It's not tiring. With Uncle and the Li family, no one can plot against you, including your father. No one can plot against you." Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door again. Li Ronghuan didn't wait for the servant outside to say anything. He suddenly raised his leg and kicked a chair into the solid wood of the study. "What are you rushing me for? Get out." Tip: enter Panda Literature in the search engine and you'll find this website. Thank you. Chapter 55-58, Translator, Henyi Translations Fight, 9. Chapter 55-59, Fight, 10. In the Li family, Li Ronghuan had already disguised himself as a hedgehog. Whoever made him uncomfortable, he would make them uncomfortable. It was not that he was reckless, but in the Li family, he had to be tough so that the prideful old Madame Li would have some scruples. Li Ronghuan was tough in the open, but cunning in the dark. Every time, he could make old Madame Li angry. Just like today, old Madame Li targeted her son, Li Ronghuan, early in the morning. She mentioned the old rules and sighed. New Year greetings on the first day of the Lunar New Year are not just words. You really have to kneel. When Old Master was around, the younger generation followed the old rules. Now that Old Master is gone, the old rules have been lost. She only talked about the old rules and Old Master, but did not mention herself. Those who did not know would really think that she was sad because the old rules were lost. In fact, she just wanted Li Ronghuan to kneel in front of her early in the morning. Li Ronghuan was not a fool. He agreed without hesitation. Then, he carried the memorial tablets of Old Master Li and the Old Madam. He asked Old Madam Shaoli to kneel to the memorial tablet of the Old Madam Shaoli before he knelt to greet Old Madam Shaoli. Then, there was the scene that Li Jinyin saw when he entered the door. Li Ronghuan, who felt that he had not quarreled enough, wanted to quarrel with his brother, Li Tianhao. Seeing this, Li Jinyin had to stop him. "Little uncle, don't be so tired. Let's go take a look first." You know what to do. Li Ronghuan picked up the chair that was kicked over and looked at it carefully. It's not broken. I bought it with my own money. I will feel bad if it is broken. Maybe this was an artist. He had a strange temper and was hard to understand. The servant outside who knocked on the door ran back to the living room in fear. Li Tianhao knew that something was broken inside, and his face was even worse than before. He waved his hand slightly and signaled the servant to leave. They were just uncle and nephew. Why did they have to avoid him, the elder brother? Li Jinyan came out and saw his father sitting on the sofa with a gloomy face. When he saw him come out, his eyes were like knives that were sharp enough to cut his flesh. Stay at home today. Don't go anywhere. Your surname is Li, not Fu. Li Tianhao ordered Li Jinyan in a commanding tone. He was probably worried that Li Jinyan would not listen to him. So he added, "You went to someone else's house on New Year's Eve. Don't you have any manners? There will be family members at home today. As the eldest grandson of the Li family, you should attend to the guests. Behave yourself. Don't go out and embarrass our Li family." When Li Jinyan was reprimanded, Li Ronghuan couldn't take it anymore. She sneered, "Big brother, why do I feel like laughing when I hear your words? Rules. The Li family's reputation? Big brother, are you standing so high that you can't see what's happening below? Or the rules of the Li family? Since the day the mistress came to the door, the rules of the Li family have been king eaten by dogs. Li family's face? You should really go to the capital and ask the prestigious families in the capital if our Li family still has any face." Li Tianhao was so embarrassed that he took a deep breath and started to talk about Li Ronghuan. "You're the most unruly one. What have you done to our family?" Li Ronghuan was speechless. Can a Li family still tolerate such a mess? If I don't do something about it, you'll turn the Li family upside down. Old Madam Li is an elder after all. No matter how bad she was in the past, she is still the second wife of the old master. If you don't respect her, I won't force you, but you make her sick every day. The Li family's rules and the Li family's reputation are all ruined by you. Tip: enter Panda Literature in the search engine and you will find this website. Thank you. Fight 10. Chapter 5560. Fight 11. Li Jinyan didn't even have the right to interrupt. He wanted to say a few words, but Li Ronghuan reacted quickly and rebutted his father. Make a scene? Am I messing around? Whoever makes me unhappy first, I'll make that person unhappy too. I've never taken the initiative to look for trouble with anyone at home. Big brother, when have you ever seen me looking for trouble with you? Li Ronghuan was eloquent, and he even had the time to give Li Jinyan a look implying that he would do it, and he would just sit by and watch the show. Big brother, I haven't seen you for more than 10 years, but I know what kind of personality you have. You let Jinyan stay because this is the Li family. Jinyan's surname is Li, and he's your son. As his father, you can naturally order him around, restrain him, and make him listen to your orders and do things for you. What you lack now is someone to work for you. Look, your son just happened to be stupid enough to come knocking on your door. As he spoke, he glared fiercely at Li Jinyan and added in exasperation, You look like a smart person, but how can you be so stupid? You didn't even spend the new year with the Li family, but you actually sent yourself to someone else's doorstep to be used as a tool. Li Jinyan, who was called stupid, this uncle of his seemed to be really extraordinarily strong. Li Tianhao guessed what his younger brother, who had caused so much trouble at home, was talking about. His eyes darkened, and he scolded in a deep voice, Li Ronghuan, you are a lunatic now. He bites anyone he catches. I'm your big brother. Do you still want to bite me? Big brother, haven't you bitten me enough in the past? You're afraid that I'll fight for old master's favor. You're afraid that you'll be chased out of the family as the eldest son. Do you need me to tell you what you've done? Li Ronghuan, with the sudden mention of the past, it was difficult for Li Tianhao to watch the fire from the other side of the river, no matter how much he wanted to. If he continued to watch the fire would burn him. You were bullied by old lady Li. Don't take it out on me. Jinyan, come to my room. After Li Tianhao finished speaking, he slammed the sofa and angrily got up to leave. How could Li Ronghuan let him go? He sneered and said, Big brother, I know what you're thinking. You're such a F**king hypocrite. You clearly want everything from the Lee family, but you pretend to be aloof and make everyone think that you don't want to fight for anything. I know you're happy to see me fighting with my mistress. I'm happy too. That's why I don't want to expose you. Wasn't he just trying to take advantage of the situation? Little brother, I'll fulfill your wish. But big brother, you shouldn't have set your sights on Jinyan. You're Jinyan's only biological father, but you still have a son and a daughter. Both of them are promising. Aren't you just thinking about destroying Jin? His last words struck a chord in Li Tianhao's heart. If it weren't for the fact that Li Tianhao had never told anyone about his plans, he would have thought that Li Ronghuan had eavesdropped on his plans. Li Ronghuan exposed his scheming plan just like that. Li Tianhao bent down, picked up a vase from the coffee table, and threw it at Li Ronghuan angrily. Li Ronghuan, you can't live your life as you wish. Now you want to mess up my life. The moment Li Jinyan saw the vase being thrown at him, he pulled Li Ronghuan away, who was caught off guard. Then he caught the vase with one hand. Li Ronghuan was dumbfounded by his quick reflexes. Tip: enter Panda Literature into the search engine to find this website. Thank you. Chapter 5560, Panda Literature Battle 11. Chapter 5561, Fight 12. The nephew that he had been protecting wholeheartedly seemed to have some skills. Was he worrying too much? Li Ronghuan looked at Li Jinyan, who pulled him and took the vase. He was deep in thought. Uncle, are you paying for it? Li Jinyan held the vase and asked. Li Ronghuan shook his head. No, I have a plan, but it hasn't been carried out yet. Then it belonged to the Li family. Li Jinyan let go of the vase. Crash! The vase fell on the marble floor, which was so bright that it could be used as a mirror, and broke into pieces. The sound of the vase breaking made Li Tianhao's heart skip a beat, and the door closed quietly. Du Jia looked happy. She whispered, Grandma, eldest uncle, youngest uncle, and Li Jinyan, they are quarreling. You should have a good rest. Let them quarrel. You won't have to worry so much. Mrs. Li sat by the bed and drank the flower slowly. She said coldly, This is a dog biting another dog. As the owner, you should just watch. It's a good thing for you no matter who gets hurt. However, no matter how fierce their fight is, we still have to be careful. Du Jia didn't understand. Isn't it a good thing that eldest uncle and youngest uncle are fighting? Why we still have to be careful? One of them is a dog that plays dirty, and the other is a dog that only cares about the family. We can't be too complacent. We still don't know who will win. Mrs. Li naturally liked to see the two sons left by the first wife kill each other in the nest. They were not her blood, so she didn't feel sorry at all. However, if they played an internal strife and schemed against the entire Li family in the end, then she would have worked for nothing for most of her life and schemed for nothing. Du Jia finally understood why Mrs. Li said, We still have to be careful. Fighting is fighting. Whoever wins will fight more. That's right. We still have to be careful. Du Jia nodded thoughtfully. Her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, as if she was thinking. Grandma, you'll have to work a little harder. Cousin still needs you to take care of her. The Li family's property can't be snatched away by little uncle or eldest uncle. It has to be left to cousin and cousin. Alas, if my cousins were at home, Grandma, you wouldn't have to worry so much. She said it naturally. Old Madam Li looked at her for a while, but didn't see anything wrong. She thought her granddaughter was really thinking for Li Jun and Li Qin. She waved her hand and signaled Du Jia to sit beside her. After Du Jia sat down, she gently patted the back of Du Jia's hand and said with gratification, Grandma's love for you was not in vain. You know how to care for your cousins. He didn't say anything else. Du Jia, who didn't find out where they were, lowered her eyebrows to hide the coldness in her eyes. It was true that Grandma doted on her, but compared to her biological grandson and granddaughter, it wasn't enough. She was afraid that something would happen to them if she kept their whereabouts a secret. Outside, Li Tianhao, whose thoughts were about to be exposed, slammed the coffee table angrily and defended himself. Jinyan is my son. I'll let him stay at home because his surname is Li, not Fu. What does Old Master hate the most? He hates the fact that the Leaf family's descendants only care about outsiders. Why does an Old Master like Jinyin? It's because, as a member of the Leaf family, he only cares about the Fu family. I'm his father. Now that he's gone down the wrong path, I have a responsibility to pull him back. Don't talk nonsense here. He was a little angry. Li Jinyin glanced at his righteous father, who seemed to really care about him, and said calmly, "Dad, you asked me to come back because you saw how powerful little uncle is. You were afraid that little uncle would take over the Leaf family and not share you. He didn't speak easily. If he did, blood would definitely flow out. Tip: enter Panda Literature in the search engine and you will find this website. Thank you." Chapter 5561, Panda Literature Fight 12. Chapter 5562, Fight 13. Li Tianhao was stunned. He couldn't believe it. His eldest son, who couldn't even make a sound after being hit 3 times, was actually, his eyes were clouded. "Don't talk to your uncle. Don't believe a word he says. You are my son. Why would I hurt you?" Li Tianhao had never cared about his eldest son. He didn't know Li Jinyin at all. He didn't even know what position Li Jinyin held or what difficulties he faced. In his eyes, Li Jinyin was dispensable. He wouldn't get in his way or be a threat to him. No son would dare to go against their father. Not to mention, as the father, he still had real power. However, something he didn't expect happened. "No, you hurt me." Li Jinyin's cold voice was like a sword that had just been pulled out of a cold abyss. It carried a bone-chilling aura and sharp hostility as it slashed towards Li Tianhao's head. Li Tianhao's voice came to an abrupt halt when something unexpected happened. His face was slapped hard. This father, who was still putting on airs, was embarrassed. "I think you're just as crazy as your uncle. Since you don't want to go back to the Li family, get out now. Get out." It seemed that this was a dead end. He couldn't move. He had to think of another way. He was happy to see Li Ronghuan and Old Lady Li fight. However, he didn't want either of them to win. He wanted the Li family. Li Tianhao's expression was dark and unreadable. He knew that he couldn't make use of Li Jinyin. His plan had failed, so he gave up. He didn't even want to give Li Jinyin a cup of water. He walked straight out of the door and told him to scram as far as he could. Li Jinyin really did leave. He wanted to leave. If he didn't leave now, when would he leave? "You're not getting out. I'm sending you out. Let's go. I'll send you." Li Ronghuan didn't want Li Jinyin to be wronged. Get out? Li Tianhao should be the one getting out. She dragged Li Jinyin away happily. Walking out of the Li family, Li Ronghuan felt the bone-chilling cold wind outside. She took a deep breath and finally felt alive again. Catching his breath, Li Ronghuan looked to his side and found that his nephew, Li Jinyin, still looked indifferent and unaffected. Li Ronghuan was amused. "Brat, I underestimated you. I thought you were a hothead. I didn't expect you to have such an idea. You're cold and you don't talk much. When you really open your mouth, you're sharp enough to scare your dad. I'm relieved to see you like this." Li Ronghuan was really relieved. He was so relieved that he didn't have to worry about causing a ruckus in the Li family. Li Jinyin faced his protective uncle and said, "Uncle, I just want to know if they will harm my sister. I don't care about anything else. I know you're not interested in the Li family. I know." Li Ronghuan gestured for Li Jinyin to walk out. "Uncle knows how to deal with these people. I'm not tired. I enjoy these days of fighting. You don't have to worry about me. You should accompany the old man. Where do you want to park the car? I won't send you off. There will be guests later. I have to entertain them." He pushed Li Jinyin away. He didn't want Li Jinyin to stay in the Li family. It was a dirty place. He couldn't let his nephew's eyes be dirty. After returning to the Li family for about an hour, Li Jinyin drove back to Danguei Garden. Tip: enter Panda Literature in the search engine to find this website. Thank you. Battle 13. Chapter 5563. Topic: Li Ronghuan stood at the door until Li Jinyin's car drove out of sight. Then, he laughed and whistled as he went back into the house. It was really cold outside. He was only wearing a woolen sweater and a shirt. The atmosphere of the Fu family in Danguei Garden was much better than that of the Li family. It was harmonious and happy, and there was endless laughter. Yi Qian saw that Father Fu was entertaining the guests, so she quietly left the living room to make a call. The first call was naturally to Xia Jinyuan. It was the first day of the Lunar New Year, and they had not called yet. Xia Jinyuan was also very busy. Every time he was about to call his girlfriend, his friends and family would come over. At this moment, the family Xia's house was full of guests. As soon as the phone rang, Xia Jinyuan immediately said to his cousin, "Cousin, I have to answer this call. It's my girlfriend. Please let me go. My girlfriend and I have already called to wish her family a Happy New Year. I will definitely come over and keep you company." When the family Xia's cousin heard that it was his sister-in-law calling, he stopped holding on to him and waved his hand to get Xia Jinyuan to leave the table. Xia Jinyuan, who had left in a hurry, could not wait to answer the call. Soon, Yi Qian's crisp voice came through the phone. "The first call of the Lunar New Year to you. Happy New Year, boyfriend." "Happy New Year, girlfriend," Xia Jinyuan replied with a smile. Hearing her crisp voice made him feel happy. "What are you doing?" Yi Qian went back to her room and closed the door to chat. "There are many guests at my house today. It's my first time entertaining guests during the Lunar New Year, so I'm a little nervous." She was mainly entertaining guests as the granddaughter of the Fu family. Although Old Master Fu and Father Fu did not deliberately introduce her, and no one secretly asked, everyone knew that there was a young and beautiful girl at Old Master Fu's house. She was Old Master Fu's granddaughter. Where did such a big granddaughter come from? No one asked. The guests who were able to give Old Mr. New Year's greetings were all extremely respectful to him. As long as they looked at Old Mr.'s happy smile, the people beside him really didn't have much interest. They were all researchers who wholeheartedly served the country. Those who could not leave the laboratory for months, other than spending all their effort on research, they really did not care about anything else. From Yi Qian's words, Xia Jinyuan could tell that the Fu family was slowly telling the people around them. With a gentle smile in his eyes, he slowly replied to Yi Qian, "I'm not as busy as you. I haven't been planning how to win over my future father-in-law. This topic, let's not talk about it for now." Yi Qian pursed his lips and giggled, then changed the topic. "Grandpa Xia, Grandma Xia, are you very busy? Is it convenient to pick up the phone now? I would like to wish the two elders a Happy New Year." As he spoke, he suddenly heard someone shouting "sixth brother" on the other end of the line. Yi Qian immediately realized that there must be many guests at this time of the year. He hurriedly said, "If it's not convenient, then forget it. I'll wait for the two elders to rest before calling again." "It's a call from your granddaughter-in-law. It's convenient for Old Master and Old Madam at any time. Give me a moment. I'll walk over now." Xia Jinyuan chatted as he walked. The younger generation is sitting in the front yard, while the older generation is in the backyard. They're complaining that we're making a ruckus. After Xia Jinyuan walked for a while, Yi Qian heard him say in a low voice, "Grandpa, Grandma, your granddaughter-in-law wants to wish the two of you a Happy New Year." Old Madam immediately took the phone and heard her say, "Did you talk for a long time? Did you drag my granddaughter-in-law out again?" Jiutian Deity Emperor. Note: enter Panda Literature into the search engine to find this website. Thank you. Translator. Pinyi Translations Topic. Chapter 5564. Granddaughter-in-law. Knowing that it was a call from Yi Qian, Old Madame Fu did not forget to say to her older relatives, "Sixth brother's girlfriend is calling. She's a good girl. I liked her at first sight." Xia Jinyuan laughed and said, "Your granddaughter-in-law is my wife. Of course I have to talk to her and make her happy. Otherwise, you'll say that I don't know how to coax people." The older generation of relatives were all smiling and asking when Xia Jinyuan would get married, saying that they would all attend the wedding banquet. Yi Qian's ears turned red when he heard this. Old Madame Gu's kind voice also sounded, "Happy New Year, Miss Jian." Yi Qian hurriedly said, "Granny Xia, Happy New Year. I wish you good health and all the best." "Happy New Year, little Jian." It was Master Xia's voice. He moved closer to his wife without taking out his phone. Xia Jinyuan hurriedly turned on the speakerphone to prevent the two elders from arguing about who would pick up his baby's call. "Grandpa Xia, Happy New Year." Yi Qian was a little nervous when he heard the laughter of the elders. He had never been so nervous before, even on the battlefield. There's still Grandpa Xia and Grandma Xia. Sixth brother, you're not charming enough. You haven't made your girlfriend change her way of addressing you. The relatives of the older generation teased. They were all gentle and kind, hoping that the younger generation would be well. Xia Jinyuan replied respectfully, "You all must be seated at the top. I'm also looking forward to your attendance at my wedding." "Ha ha ha, all right. Since you said that, I have to come." The relatives all laughed. Old Madame Xia, who once again held the phone in her hand, laughed and said, "Little Jian, when you remove the Xia in front of your name, Grandpa and Grandma will be even happier. Grandpa and Grandma are looking forward to it." Xia Jinyuan reminded her at the right time to make her happy, especially since the elders of the family were sitting in the room. He wanted them to like Yi Qian so that she wouldn't feel awkward when she reunited with her relatives in the future. Yi Qian did not hesitate and immediately called out sweetly, "Grandpa, Grandma, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all the elders." "Ha ha ha." The old madam and the old master both laughed heartily. They were in a very good mood. Good, good, good. What a good child. Is it Dangwei Garden now?" The old madam had already started chatting with Yi Qian. "I heard from Laolu that your father is coming back for the new year this year. Jinyan is also back. With you guys around, it's going to be really lively." "Yes, Grandma." Yi Qian chatted with the old man with a smile on his face. They talked for at least 10 minutes, from the family to the guests. Xia Jinyuan accompanied the older generation and chatted with them for 10 minutes. He was afraid that the old lady would hang up on Yi Qian, so he kept an eye on her from time to time. Seeing this, old madam only found it funny. "Sixth brother already can't wait to talk to you, so Grandma won't keep you from chatting with him. You guys have a good chat. Grandma will be happy as long as you guys are doing well." Knowing that her future granddaughter-in-law was shy, the old madam handed her hand to Xia Jinyuan. "Hurry up and chat with Jane Eyre. You still have to pay old master a New Year's greeting. Don't forget." Xia Jinyuan held the phone with both hands as if he was receiving an imperial edict. He made the elders laugh again. No wonder Laolu was so likable. He was an expert at entertaining his relatives. Xia Jinyuan, who had escaped from the elders' interrogation, heaved a sigh of relief. "If you continue chatting with Grandma, I'm going to go against my superiors and snatch the phone back." Tip: enter Panda Literature into the search engine to find this website. Thank you. Chapter 5564, Panda Xian Granddaughter-in-Law. Chapter 5565. He was flirting with her again. Family Xia's elders were all amazing. He couldn't handle it at all. Yi Qian laughed as she lay on the bed. Even through the phone, she could feel how extraordinary family Xia's elders were. "I'll come over in the afternoon." "Old master, are you free? Do you have a lot of visitors?" On the first day, he had to rush over to give his future father-in-law a New Year's greeting. He had to be respectful, humble, and sincere. He had to let his future father-in-law know that he was an honest man who would treat his precious daughter well for the rest of his life. This was the first step of Xia Jinyuan's plan. Yi Qian was also looking forward to his arrival. "We usually have guests in the morning, but I don't think there are any in the afternoon. I'll have to ask Uncle Fu." Uncle Fu would know best if there were guests because he was the one who answered all the calls to Old Master before the new year. "Okay, let me know the time later. I still have to go and meet my future father-in-law." Xia Jinyuan was like a soldier on a battlefield. In order to marry his wife, he had to deal with his future father-in-law first. "My future father-in-law, please be merciful on the account that I'm an honest man." His future father-in-law, Father Fu, didn't want to be merciful. Yi Qian was worried that Xia Jinyuan would say something that would make family Xia's elders uncomfortable. "Are your grandparents around? Watch your words." She reminded him softly, "My dad really didn't make things difficult for you. Don't let them misunderstand." She was worried because she cared. Xia Jinyuan understood. "You're already being very careful by saying that outside. What else do you have to be careful of? Are you worried that I'll ask for a kiss over the phone again?" Yi Qian, he was flirting with her again. "Okay, I'll go and ask Uncle Fu first. I'll get back to you later." Yi Qian did not want to be flirted with, so she quickly hung up the phone. She really went downstairs to ask Uncle Fu not to lie to Xia Jinyuan. Yi Qian swiftly ended the call, not giving the other party any chance to persuade him to stay. He went downstairs with a smile on his face. On the other end, Xia Jinyuan looked at the busy tone of the call and couldn't help but laugh. "Little guy, you're really smart now. You can guess what I want to do immediately." Xia Jinyuan muttered to himself as he held the phone in his hand. "That won't do. Won't her charm be weakened if she hides everything? We have to think of a way." "Old Six, are you trying to run away?" A male voice rang out, and Xia Jinyuan was dragged away by his cousins to play. Yi Qian was asking Uncle Fu, "Uncle Fu, will Grandpa have guests this afternoon?" "This afternoon?" "No. The guests who came to pay New Year's greetings to the old man would usually start visiting tomorrow. Today, they're all the juniors who are staying in Dangue Garden." Uncle Fu laughed. "Why? Do you have any plans this afternoon?" "Old Six said that he'll be coming over this afternoon. I was worried that the guests would disturb Grandpa, so I came to ask you in advance." "How can this be a disturbance? Grandpa is looking forward to his grandson-in-law's arrival. Last night, he secretly told me that he wants to have a reunion dinner with his grandson-in-law on New Year's Eve." Grandpa Fu would not tell Father Fu and Yi Qian about some things because he did not want them to worry. However, he would talk to Uncle Fu about what was on his mind and what he was looking forward to. Uncle Fu knew a lot more than Yi Qian and Yi Qian. "Okay, then I'll go tell Grandpa and Dad." Yi Qian lowered his head and smiled. "I still have to ask Dad to be merciful." Tip: enter Panda Literature into the search engine to find this website. Thank you. Chapter 5565. Panda, he was flirting with her again. Chapter 5566. Old Father's Thoughts. Uncle Fu laughed out loud. "If your father hears this, he will be worried. But it's good to talk to him. Your father is very stubborn. If you talk to him, he'll give you face." As for his future son-in-law, Uncle Fu could not guarantee that he would give him face. Usually, he would give him face. Family Xia's sick son treated Jane Eyre quite well. But this time, it was a little difficult. Engagement. She wanted to get engaged so early. Big Brother was not happy about it. "You have to talk to him properly, okay? Uncle, give me an idea. Come closer. Don't let your father hear you." Uncle Fu was not against the engagement at all. As long as Old Master was happy, he was very happy to facilitate it. Look for Old Master first and ask him for help. When the time comes, you can speak softly and Old Master will be serious. With both of you together, your father will naturally be gentle. Uncle Fu smiled as he gave the idea. He was afraid that Yi Qian did not understand, so he asked, "Do you understand what I mean?" Yi Qian was smart and understood immediately. "Okay, then I'll go to the kitchen and wait for the guests." Uncle Fu brushed his kitchen apron and hid his achievements. Yi Qian gave Uncle Fu a thumbs up and looked for Old Master first. The guests in the living room were about to leave, so Yi Qian immediately sent them off. They were all children of old scientists who lived in Dangue Garden and were close to Old Master. Most of them were also involved in research and development, so they often had many topics to talk about with Old Master. Just now, a middle-aged researcher of about 40 people, who was a researcher of engineering materials, mentioned stealth paint for fighter jets. Old Master was not the only one who could talk about it. Everyone else could. If they had not talked about this topic, Yi Qian would not have been able to take the opportunity to go upstairs and call Xia Jinyuan. The topics they talked about were not ordinary profound. As a combat personnel, she could not understand them at all. In front of them, she even had the illusion that she was illiterate. The older generation who lived in Dangue Garden dedicated their lives to the country. Most of the children they educated inherited their legacy and continued to complete the cause of increasing the strength of the country that their parents had been exploring. After sending off the guests, the old man, who had woken up early, was a little tired. Yi Qian helped him to his room to rest. 10 minutes later, Yi Qian came out. She walked over to Father Fu and sat down beside him. She said coquettishly, "Dad, do you have any plans for this afternoon?" "This afternoon? I don't have any plans. I just want to accompany you." Father Fu enjoyed his daughter's coquettishness. He laughed so hard that his chest shook. Tell me, is there anything you need me to do? This was really a casual question. Up until now, his daughter really didn't have anything that required his help. Even though he wanted to help solve the problem, he didn't have the chance to do so. Xia Jinyuan would like to visit you and Grandpa this afternoon to wish you a Happy New Year. As Yi Qian spoke, she secretly observed Father Fu's expression. Seeing that Father Fu didn't have any change in expression, Yi Qian's heart immediately calmed down. Even if he's here to wish me a Happy New Year, I won't hand my daughter over to him so easily. Father Fu was also very proud. Are you here to persuade him? Daughter, let's not be in a hurry. It's better to stay at home. Yi Qian nodded. There's no hurry. I'm not in a hurry at all. You don't have to be anxious either. He just came over this afternoon to wish you a Happy New Year. When he heard that you were back, he kept wanting to come over. I was the one who stopped him from coming. Let him come over next time. Don't stop him. Although Father Fu didn't want to get engaged so early, he didn't want to affect their relationship. An old father's thoughts were just that complicated. Note, enter Panda Literature into the search engine to find this website. Thank you. Chapter 5566. Panda and Old Father's Thoughts. Chapter 5567. The master, Li Jinyan, who had just returned from the Li family, found out that Xia Jinyuan was coming over in the afternoon. He said to his Father Fu, I'll have a chat with him in the afternoon. Father Fu nodded. Yes, let's have a serious talk. Li Jinyan nodded. Yi Qian face-palmed. Captain Xia, I'm sorry. She tried her best. Uncle Fu watched for a while and slipped into Old Master's room to report. The old man, who had just taken a nap, couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. This uncle and nephew, it's really hard for them to keep him here. Sixth brother is not bad. Let me help him. Recalling Yi Qian's muttering just now, the old man smiled and looked at Uncle Fu. You gave Miss Jian some advice, didn't you? This girl is very honest and wouldn't do it twice. You must have given her some advice. Uncle Fu rubbed his hands and smiled. I saw that she was in a difficult position. My heart ached for her, so I gave her a small suggestion. I didn't want to hide it from you. I'll wait for old Six to come over. If he asks, I'll help him. Jinyan, this child, he'll definitely tear down old Six Bridge. The old man was overjoyed and actually looked forward to Xia Jinyuan's early arrival. After having lunch, Xia Jinyuan excused himself from family Xia and drove straight to Danguei Garden with the New Year gifts in tow. When they arrived at Danguei Garden, the person who opened the door was Li Jinyan. Fortunately, Xia Jinyuan knew that he had a cold expression on his face. Xia Jinyuan was not used to it. He gave his usual New Year's greetings and entered the house smoothly. Li Jinyan narrowed his eyes as he looked at Xia Jinyuan, who was so proud of himself. Was he confident that his uncle would agree to the engagement? Yi Qian immediately winked at Xia Jinyuan and smiled at his grandfather. Xia Jinyuan immediately understood that his grandfather was on his side. Not bad, little fox. His confidence has increased again. Father Fu was delighted to see his son-in-law. After a long chat, he felt that Xia Jinyuan had improved and become more mature than before. In an instant, Father Fu realized that his son-in-law, who was about to enter his 30s, was already old enough to carry the sky on his shoulders for his daughter. As a father, he could leave his daughter to him without any worries. Father Fu, whose heart had loosened, did not show it on his face. There were several times when Xia Jinyuan vaguely hinted at the direction of the engagement, but Father Fu did not show it on his face. After a few rounds of sparring, Yi Qian felt a little uneasy. She wanted to speak up for Xia Jinyuan. As the older brother, Li Jinyan did not give him a chance. He said to Yi Qian calmly, "The plate is empty." This was to send Yi Qian away. The old man smiled and said, "Girl, why don't you invite your friend over for a chat?" Li Jinyan was instantly speechless. He immediately became obedient and sat down with his usual cold expression. Indeed, the older the ginger, the spicier it was. He had grasped his weak spot. Yi Qian winked at Li Jinyan, smiled slightly, and got up to cut some fruit. Li Jinyan raised his hand and rubbed his eyebrows helplessly with his slender fingers. Uncle, I can't even protect myself. I'm shocked that I can't help you. Xia Jinyuan was very calm. He was not anxious because of Father Fu's avoidance. After chatting for a while, he smiled and said, Uncle, I heard from Grandpa that you like to play chess. You're very good at it. Why don't I play a game with you first? Father Fu, whose heart had loosened, had been paying attention to Xia Jinyuan's behavior. Seeing that he was able to keep his composure, his heart was filled with satisfaction. However, Father Fu was too good to be true, and Xia Jinyuan did not notice his hesitation. Hearing this, he even pretended to look at him with a scrutinizing expression. Even his tone was somewhat flat. You little brat, what kind of bad ideas are you up to? Xia Jinyuan smiled and said, It's not a bad idea. I just want a chance to ask for your advice. Tip, enter Panda Literature into the search engine and you'll find this website. Thank you. Chapter 5567, Betrayal the Master Moves. Chapter 5568, Be Tender. The opportunity to ask for guidance, stinky brat, was premeditated. Father Fu frowned and pretended to think for a moment before nodding. He was very confident in his chess skills. He did not believe that Xia Jinyuan could win against him. Even if he won, what could he do? Xia Jinyuan pretended not to see any of his requests, and there was nothing he could do. Of course, he couldn't really keep waiting. Everyone had a temper. If he dragged it out for too long, no matter how respectful the brat was to him, he wouldn't feel comfortable. His daughter had taken a fancy to him, so he couldn't make her feel uncomfortable. It was his sin as a father to affect their relationship. All right, I'll give you this opportunity. Father Fu stood up and walked toward the study. It's like playing chess to judge a person's character. Come, let me have a good look. Dad, Yi Qian, who was carrying a fruit platter, called out subconsciously before he knew what was going on. Then he stood up calmly. Xia Jinyuan glanced at Yi Qian, his thin lips moving slightly. Good luck, Yi Qian mouthed back to him. Father Fu looked over, and Yi Qian quickly averted his gaze. The future father-in-law then led his future son-in-law into the chess room. The two of them were together. The old man looked at Yi Qian's nervous expression and smiled. Hey, don't worry. Your dad won't bully Jinyuan. Grandpa, I'm not worried about that, Yi Qian said. She was just worried that her father would lose to Captain Xia and be embarrassed. What would she do then? Don't worry, they know their limits. The old man comforted her and changed the topic to Li Jinyan. I think your brother is a little free these days. Come on, girl, send a message to your friend to ask. Since he had the time to care about his sister's personal affairs, why not take care of his own personal affairs as well? Amidst Yi Qian's laughter, Li Jinyan waited on the old man, trying to change his mind. In the end, Yi Qian did not send a message. The old man was just trying to trick her brother. Mr. Fu and Xia Jinyuan went into the study at 2:00 in the afternoon and did not come out until 5:00 in the afternoon. Yi Jian went in to refill their tea and saw that both of them were frowning, unwilling to be outdone. She wanted to remind Xia Jinyuan to go easy, but before she could, Father Fu looked up. Go easy? Are you looking down on Dad? Yi Qian left the chess room. The old man looked at the time and said to Yi Jian, Go in and ask your father if he wants sixth brother to stay for dinner. Of course. Go quickly, the old man urged with a smile. His girl was still a little inexperienced. Yi Qian knocked on the door of the chess room and went in. Xia Jinyuan and Father Fu had already finished playing chess. Xia Jinyuan was putting away the chess pieces one by one, and Father Fu looked much better. Dad, are you going to stay for dinner tonight? Yi Qian asked softly. She still did not understand why she had to ask her father. Father Fu glanced at Xia Jinyuan and nodded. Xia Jinyuan, who had been nervous for a long time, finally felt happy. He said respectfully to Father Fu, Thank you for your hospitality tonight. Father Fu looked at Yi Qian and Xia Jinyuan, waved his hand, and said, You two can leave. I have to stay in the study for a while. Thank you, Uncle, for your attention. Xia Jinyuan stood up and saluted Father Fu. Don't worry. What you're looking forward to is also what I am looking forward to. I won't let you down. Father Fu stood up and looked at Yi Qian with a smile in his eyes. Go to your work. I'm going to rest for a while. Your chess skills are not bad. I even used a lot of brain cells. Yi Qian's face was filled with question marks. Note, enter Panda Literature into the search engine to find this website. Thank you. Chapter 5568, Panda Bee Tender. Chapter 5569. Yi Qian came out of the room in confusion. She didn't quite understand what was going on. Her father had a serious expression on his face earlier, so why did he suddenly change? He seemed to be in a good mood. After closing the door of the chess room, Yi Qian couldn't help but tug at Xia Jinyuan's sleeve. She turned around to look at the silent chess room and asked softly, Captain Xia, what does my father mean by this? Did he agree? Xia Jinyuan smiled and squeezed Yi Qian's hand. Baby, you can change the way you address me. I've already taken a huge step forward. From now on, I'm your fiancé and you're my fiancée. What? Yi Qian was dumbfounded. My father agreed? How did he agree? She couldn't believe it. Her father had resisted and opposed this before, but now he agreed? Captain Xia, what did you say to my father? Why did he suddenly agree? My father clearly. She was very curious about what Xia Jinyuan said to her father. Even though he clearly disagreed, he still pulled her brother into an alliance and even convinced her grandfather to agree. Her father, who was a master martial arts, actually agreed? Her face was full of disbelief. Xia Jinyuan raised his eyebrows. What? You don't believe in your fiancé's ability? Of course it's not that I don't believe in him, but my father. Worried that Father Fu would hear, Yi Qian simply pulled Xia Jinyuan to the guest room on the first floor. She closed the door and didn't forget to lock it. After making sure that Father Fu couldn't hear, she continued, but my father was very insistent. He was so insistent that even I wasn't confident that I could convince him. Last time Grandpa mentioned it, my father didn't hesitate to disagree and gave a bunch of reasons. In the end, Grandpa seemed to be persuaded by my father. It's almost impossible. I'm just curious. What kind of scheme did you use to get my dad to agree to it? You. Yi Qian's dark eyes flickered. Her expression suddenly became a little strange. Xia Jinyuan's eyebrows twitched. His intuition told him that his fiancée was probably out of line. Captain Xia, tell me honestly, you didn't threaten my dad or force him to agree. These were very inappropriate words. The corners of Xia Jinyuan's mouth twitched as he raised his hand and rubbed his girlfriend's head. He clenched his teeth and said, My future father-in-law, your father, is also my father. Would I dare to threaten him? If I threaten you today, will you and your brother give me a double fight? Directly kick me out of Danguei Garden. Yi Qian wrinkled his nose and said, Since you didn't threaten my dad, why did you agree? He was full of disbelief. He was so against it. And in the end, he even managed to convince his grandfather's father to play chess with Captain Xia for a few hours today. He actually agreed? Xia Jinyuan did not say anything, but narrowed his eyes slightly. Finally, he seemed to have realized something and revealed an enigmatic smile. Of course, it's something that moves you emotionally and rationally. These are matters between men, so don't ask. Impressive. She even knew how to use tricks to get information out of him. Yi Qian frowned and said, Captain Xia, you're being sexist. I'm one of the parties involved. Xiao Jian, can't you let me and my father-in-law keep a little secret? Xia Jinyuan was not fooled. She deliberately threatened him to make him anxious so that he would tell her everything about his conversation with his father-in-law. Chapter 5570. TSK, TSK, TSK. This little fox is getting more and more cunning. In a few years, won't she become an old fox? No. If she becomes a smarter and more cunning fox, then I have to become a better hunter and keep her by my side for the rest of my life. Yi Qian was not a curious person who insisted on getting to the bottom of things, but this was something she really wanted to know. In the end, Xia Jinyuan was still unwilling to tell her. Naturally, he had his reasons, so Yi Qian did not probe further. Fine, let's keep this little secret between my son-in-law and my father-in-law. As Yi Qian was about to open the door and leave, Xia Jinyuan looked around the guest room. Finally, his gaze fell on the fabric recliner in the guest room. He said to Yi Qian, "I need to take a nap. I woke up at 4 in the morning and played chess with my father-in-law in the afternoon. I'm exhausted. I need to rest for a while to replenish my energy." Seeing that his handsome face was indeed a little tired, Yi Qian did not suspect anything. "Go to bed and sleep for a while. I'll wake you up for dinner." "Okay." Xia Jinyuan opened his arms. The smile in his eyes was like rippling water. "Come, hug me." Yi Qian, who was smiling with pursed lips, threw herself into his arms and hugged his waist with both hands. There was a deep and soft smile on her face. "Are you happy?" she asked softly. Her voice was as soft and sweet as osmanthus candy. It was so sweet that it touched Xia Jinyuan's heart. "Yes, I'm happy." His long arms hugged the girl he loved the most. With a gentle expression on his face, Xia Jinyuan gently closed his eyes and said, "I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I'm so happy that I'm excited." His arms tightened slightly, and he hugged the person in his arms even tighter. "High spirits? Didn't you say that you were exhausted and needed a rest? Then you can still rest?" "Of course I can. Give me 3 minutes, and I'll immediately calm down and rest." That was true. As soldiers, in order to ensure their energy, they could quickly fall asleep even in the most difficult conditions. "I'll go out and tell Father Fu. You sleep for a while." Thinking that he still had to tell Uncle Fu that he had asked him to stay for dinner, Yi Qian released his arms from around his waist. "Go to sleep. I'll go out first." Xia Jinyuan was a little reluctant to part with his girlfriend after not seeing her for a few days. He hugged her for a while longer and kissed Yi Qian on the cheek before personally opening the door to send Yi Qian out. He closed the door to the guest room, and the sliding door to the chess room at the end of the hall opened. Yi Qian heard the commotion and turned to walk towards the chess room. "Dad!" Yi Qian called out sweetly. She was a little worried that Father Fu was a little unhappy. He had clearly disagreed with something, but now he had agreed. Yi Qian was afraid that Father Fu would be happy. Mr. Fu was not unhappy. He just saw that Xia Jinyuan did not look happy. He wanted to ask him if he understood what he meant. Seeing that Xia Jinyuan was not with his daughter, Father Fu asked her, "Did he say anything to you?" "Did he say anything?" "He didn't say anything." Just as she was about to say this, she suddenly saw Father Fu frown a little. Yi Qian's heart skipped a beat. She smiled brightly and said, "Yes, he said that he was very happy." "What did he say?" "Yes, he only said that he was very happy. He was very calm and happy." Father Fu heaved a sigh of relief. That meant that he understood what he meant and that he had agreed to the engagement. That was even more wrong. Very happy? Why didn't he see it? Could it be? Father Fu, who had not married off his daughter and had only agreed to the engagement, suddenly became anxious. At this moment, Father Fu did not look as serious as he usually did at work. He was just an ordinary father now. Chapter 5571. Was it because he agreed so readily that family Xia thought it was natural? Was that why he felt that there was nothing to worry about? Was he sure that he, as his father, would agree to the engagement? The more he thought about it, the more Mr. Fu's face changed. "Where is he? Where is he?" Father Fu asked Yi Qian with a smile. He did not want Yi Qian to see the discomfort in his heart. "I forgot to remind him of a few things. Now that I remember, I have to tell him." Yi Qian listened to Father Fu's every word. When he found out that Xia Jinyuan was resting in the guest room, Father Fu's heart continued to feel stifled. He could still sleep. Years ago, when his wife agreed to submit the marriage report together, he was so happy that he could not sleep the entire night. Sleep? How could he sleep? No, he had to ask this stinking brat from the Xia family. Actually, he was still worried about leaving Yi Qian. However, since he had agreed to it, there should be no problem. Yi Qian then ran into the kitchen. When Uncle Fu found out that Xia Jinyuan was having dinner at home tonight, he was immediately overjoyed. He even stayed for dinner. Ha ha ha. I knew he would agree. Sixth brother is such a good son-in-law. Your father has no reason to disagree. He just doesn't want you to get married so early and become someone else's daughter-in-law. Once a girl got married, she would no longer be as carefree as she was when she was at home. Once she had a family and responsibilities, she would no longer be a child, but a real adult. Yichien came home too late. He only returned to the Fu family when he was admitted to the military academy. Father Fu missed out on Yichien's growth, and it became an eternal regret and pain. Therefore, Father Fu wanted to keep Yichien by his side so that he could spend more time with his daughter. However, he was so busy that he did not even have time to talk to his daughter. Just like what Xia Jinyuan had said while playing chess, "Uncle, when you weren't with her, I was always holding her hand and guiding her to walk, telling her right and wrong." At that time, I felt that I was raising an ignorant and confused daughter. These words touched Mr. Fu, who had already loosened up a little. Xia Jinyuan spent much more time with Yichien than he did as a father. In the days that followed, it was not him who accompanied Yichien, but the outstanding young man in front of him who played chess with him. Father Fu pretended to be tense, and his expression relaxed. He even gestured for Xia Jinyuan to take a sip of tea. He meant that he agreed to let the two of them get engaged. Perhaps Xia Jinyuan did not immediately understand, but he was not so happy that he forgot himself. He continued to play chess seriously, as if this was the most normal thing in the world, and there was no need to be too happy. He was very calm, but Father Fu was a little uneasy. Rascal. Why didn't he have any reaction when he agreed to the engagement? This shouldn't be the case. The thing that he had been waiting for was finally going to happen. Why didn't he have any reaction? Could it be that he couldn't tell that he had agreed to the engagement? Did he have to say it out loud? Father Fu wanted to ask Xia Jinyuan if he understood, but if he really did, wouldn't it seem like he was losing his cool? Therefore, he held it in until the game ended. At this time, Yichien came in and asked Father Fu if he wanted Xia Jinyuan to stay for dinner. Father Fu secretly observed his future son-in-law as he nodded. Seeing that he still had a calm expression, Father Fu suppressed his awkwardness. However, he was worried that Yichien would notice his awkwardness, so he had no choice but to chase the two of them out. Chapter 55-72. While her father was still resting in the chess room, Uncle Fu pointed at the dishes that were already prepared and were just waiting to be cooked. He laughed and said, "I prepared them long ago. I'm just waiting for my son-in-law to propose a toast tonight." Yichien looked at the dishes that were just waiting to be cooked. There were 10 dishes, and they were perfect. "Uncle Fu, why did you know that my father agreed to let 6th brother stay for dinner?" Yichien asked Uncle Fu. "Is there a special meaning behind it?" "It's a custom in Old Master's hometown. On the first day of the new year, there can only be one family, and it has to be the closest family. These are all old rules. You might not know, but 6th brother is very clear about them." Uncle Fu once again felt that 6th brother of family Xia was a considerate person. In order to marry Yichien, he had even asked about the old rules in Old Master's hometown. "If our family agrees, 6th brother's elders can also visit us. They will visit us as future in-laws, not as friends. 6th brother came to visit us alone today. It's obvious that the elders of family Xia know the rules in Old Master's hometown." Jane Eyre, although it's a small matter, it's enough to show 6th brother's sincerity. He's a reliable person. He's much better than those men outside who only know how to make girls happy, but don't do anything serious. With him taking care of you, Old Master can rest assured. Yichien had always known that her boyfriend was reliable. Seeing that he even paid attention to such details, she felt warm and sweet in her heart. Her eyebrows were soft, and there was a smile on her face. She looked the happiest. Father Fu, who had gestured for his daughter to go to the kitchen, adjusted his expression, walked to the door of the guest room, and opened it expressionlessly. Before he could say anything, Father Fu saw his son-in-law practicing military boxing in the room. Father Fu's eyes widened a little. This military boxing seemed to be an upgraded version of military boxing. This was because he had never seen anyone perform a 180-degree roundhouse kick that required them to climb up a wall. It was a highly technical and highly difficult military boxing move that had a certain degree of lethality. Comrade Xia Jinyuan jumped on the wall and did a 180-degree roundhouse kick. At the moment of the roundhouse kick, he saw his future father-in-law standing silently at the door and looking at him without blinking. Comrade Xia. He was so scared that he almost fell and twisted his limbs. He almost fell to the ground. His tall figure staggered for 2 steps before he steadied himself. Comrade Xia, who had steadied himself, silently looked at his future father-in-law who was standing at the door. He, who had always been good at talking, was really at a loss for words at this moment. The air froze and became a little awkward. Only Father Fu could remain calm. Seeing this, he nodded slightly and kindly said, "Don't tire yourself out. Rest for a while. Thank you for your concern, father-in-law." Comrade Xia Jinyuan, who was at a loss for words, bowed deeply and lowered his gaze to his toes. He had never been so embarrassed by himself before. When he saw his bare feet, he really wanted to find a hole to hide in. Father Fu lowered his gaze as he bent over. Naturally, he saw Xia Jinyuan's thighs, which were not wearing home shoes but only a pair of black cotton socks. Father Fu, who had been trying hard not to laugh, had a twisted expression on his face. "The floor is cold. Don't catch a cold. Get some rest. I'll get Jane Eyre to call you when it's time for dinner." With that, Father Fu quickly closed the door. The moment he closed the door, Father Fu, who couldn't hold it in any longer, burst into laughter. Chapter 5573. That's right, he burst into laughter. His voice was so loud that old Master Fu, who was sitting in the living room, Uncle Fu, who was busy in the kitchen, and Little Yu, who was taking care of old Master Fu, all heard him. "Looks like my father-in-law is very satisfied with his son-in-law." Old Master Fu laughed as he looked in the direction of the voice and waited for his new father-in-law to walk over. Xia Jinyuan, who was putting on his shoes in the room, heard his future father-in-law's laughter. He leaned against the wall and felt very awkward. He was so happy that after seeing his girlfriend off, he could no longer hold back his urge to act mature and calm in front of his future father-in-law. He couldn't help but want to do something, but there was limited space in the room and he couldn't run out of the Fu residence. Therefore, he thought of practicing military boxing. He was afraid that it would cause a commotion when he put on his shoes, so he took them off before starting. Ordinary military boxing was really unable to express the excitement in his heart. Therefore, he decided to use an upgraded version, which was the upgraded version of basic physical fitness that all the recruits in their brigade had to practice when they reported for duty. How could he have imagined that his future father-in-law would come to see him while he was having such a good time? His future father-in-law was stunned when he saw him practicing military boxing, but he was so shocked that he almost fell. Luckily, he had steadied himself. If he had really fallen, it would not have been just a little bit of embarrassment. It would have been so embarrassing that he would become one of Father Fu's biggest jokes in the future. Actually, he didn't need to fall. In his future father-in-law's heart, Xia Jinyuan was already the biggest joke in history. No, he was the biggest joke in the entire Fu family. Soon, old Master Fu also laughed. He laughed so hard that Little Yu was worried that old Master Fu would choke. She quickly patted old Master Fu's back, just in case. That stinking brat really scared me at that time. I thought he wasn't that happy at all. I almost wanted to break off the engagement. I wondered if I agreed too quickly, and this brat didn't know how to cherish her. Father Fu, who was laughing until tears came out of his eyes, was still talking to old Master Fu. Ha ha ha, he really? Sigh. He really wanted to laugh. Just when I opened the door with the intention of getting even with him, Dad, you didn't see it, Before she could finish, Father Fu laughed again. Even though he had already told the old man everything, Father Fu still wanted to laugh when he brought it up again. He laughed so hard that he couldn't stop. I happened to see him kick up the wall and do a pretty good 180-degree spin kick. When he turned around, he found me standing at the door. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. At that time, ha ha ha, I really wanted to laugh, but I held it in. He was also dumbfounded. This was the first time he was at a loss for words in front of me. I didn't know what to say either, so I told him to rest well. In the end, no, he had to catch his breath. He had to catch his breath. He laughed until his stomach hurt. In the end, he saw that this kid wasn't wearing shoes. He was afraid of making a scene, so he took off his shoes. Haha, Dad, I was really fooled by him at that time. I was even secretly angry at myself for not being as calm as a young man. Li Jinyan, who was standing on the second floor and listening to the whole thing, used both hands to support himself against the railing. In the end, he probably couldn't hold it in anymore and had to raise his head. His sexy Adam's apple bobbed up and down a few times, and 2 drops of tears came out of the corners of his eyes, but he still couldn't hold back his laughter. Thus, his future brother-in-law, Li Jinyan, chose to give up. Chapter 55-74. Li Jinyan, who could no longer hold back his laughter, chuckled softly. He rarely laughed out loud, so even when he did, his laughter was deep and resonated in his chest. His chest vibrated, and his shoulders trembled for at least 5 minutes. It was not that he did not want to embarrass Xia Jinyuan, but it was really funny. If even Li Jinyan, who was usually calm and indifferent, found it funny, then it was really funny. Father Fu, who originally wanted to ask Xia Jinyuan about it, knew that his son-in-law was so happy. He felt relieved, and his expression looked much better. As for Yi Qian was also laughing so hard that he could not control himself. Therefore, when Captain Xia suggested that he needed to rest for a while, it was not because he really wanted to rest, nor was it because he was tired, but because he was too happy, so happy that he did not know what to do. He was so happy that he needed to vent, but he did not want her to see him. So he simply closed the door and found an excuse to be alone. Uncle Fu, who was happily cooking, heard the laughter outside and said to Yi Jian, "Listen to the laughter, listen to the laughter. I have never seen your father laugh like that. Sixth brother is really something. He can even make his father-in-law so happy after marrying off his daughter. He's the first one to do so. Old Master also hoped that your father would agree. Now that he has happily agreed, Old Master is even happier." Uncle Fu always prioritized taking care of Old Master. Old Master said happily to Father Fu, "We have to pick a date to discuss the engagement with family Xia. It is already the first day of the Chinese New Year. In 4 days, Jane Eyre will have to go back to the army. We have to pick a date within 4 days. Time is indeed a little tight. Fortunately, it is only an engagement. As long as we pick a date and the 2 families sit down and meet, then it will be settled. We can't be careless about the engagement. Talk to Sixth brother later during dinner and tell him our thoughts in advance. As for him, he can go back and tell the elders." Although the old man was not a stickler for details, he still paid attention to etiquette and planned to discuss it with Xia Jinyuan later. At this time, Xia Jinyuan, who was still in the room, heard his father-in-law's laughter and wanted to climb out of the window to escape. It was too embarrassing. Comrade Xia Jinyuan, who rarely felt embarrassed, sat on the edge of the bed. He almost pulled out a few handfuls of his hair. In the end, Xia Jinyuan comforted himself that it was fine as long as he was happy. His priority was to make his father-in-law happy. Now that his father-in-law was happy, and laughing so loudly, what was there to be embarrassed about? He ought to feel honored. That's right, glory. It was an honor to coax his father-in-law to laugh so heartily. With such comforting words, Xia Jinyuan finally calmed down. However, he did not come out immediately and continued to pretend that he was in the guest room. With such a big commotion outside and his grandson-in-law not coming out, the old man knew that he must be embarrassed. Seeing his grandson, Li Jinyan, come downstairs, the old man smiled and said, "Jinyan, go to the room and ask Sixth brother to come out and sit. It's boring to be alone in the room." Li Jinyan did not go. Instead, he walked closer and sat beside the old man with a smile on his face. "He probably won't come out for now. My sister will go over later. Let me be alone for now. It would be strange if he came out. He probably wanted to run away." Speaking of which, this was the first time he had seen Xia Jinyuan like this. He had always been strong, so it was funny that he would occasionally act foolishly. Chapter 55-75. Hearing this, Mr. Yi did not let Xia Jinyuan come out. He was so focused on setting a date that he forgot that the child was probably too shy to come out. At this point, Li Jinyan knew that his sister Yi Qian and Xia Jinyuan's engagement was set in stone. Everything was set in stone. As her older brother, he could only give his blessings. When it was time for dinner, Yi Qian went to the guest room. This time, she smiled and knocked on the door. "Fiancé, may I come in?" Why did she knock? What if he was practicing military boxing again? She knocked on the door first before speaking. Xia Jinyuan, who was inside, obviously knew what she meant. He opened the door quickly and pulled Yi Qian into the room. He then pushed Yi Qian behind the door. With a click, Xia Jinyuan even had time to lock the door. Yi Qian, whose back was pressed against the door, wanted to laugh again. Calm down, calm down. We have to calm down." She giggled as she spoke. Xia Jinyuan pretended to glare at his girlfriend, who was still laughing. "Were you laughing very happily just now?" She even asked through gritted teeth. Yi Qian was an honest person. An honest person would naturally speak the truth. She nodded vigorously and told him the truth. "Yes, I was laughing all the time. Before I came to look for you, I was still laughing. Now I want to laugh again." She really did laugh. "You're still laughing." Xia Jinyuan knew that he had completely lost it this time. All right, it was an honor to make his fiancée's family happy. It was an absolute honor. But his fiancée was still laughing, so she shouldn't blame him for not holding back. How would he not hold back? Of course he would kiss, 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 kiss. He kissed her repeatedly until Yi Qian was almost out of breath. Only then did he let go. "Are you still laughing?" He stared into Yi Qian's eyes and asked. Yi Qian covered his burning mouth with his hand and shook his head. "No more laughing. No more laughing. Really no more laughing." "You're really not laughing anymore?" "Yes, yes, yes." He nodded quickly. Stop laughing. Stop laughing. Really stop laughing." "Good girl." Xia Jinyuan patted his fiancée's head and finally felt at ease. The comfortable comrade, Xia Jinyuan, followed Yi Qian into the living room. The first person to laugh was unexpectedly Little Yu. Among them, Little Yu was probably the only one who was younger and couldn't keep his cool. "I'm sorry, I don't understand." Little Yu didn't even dare to look at the Fu family's grandson-in-law's face and hurriedly ran back to the kitchen. In the past few days, the bodyguard, Little Yu, had become a member of the cooking team and was in and out of the kitchen the most. When Xia Jinyuan heard Little Yu's laughter, he knew that this matter would not be resolved so easily. Old Master Fu was concerned about his grandson-in-law and was afraid that he would feel awkward, so he smiled and said, "Sixth brother, sit here with Jane Eyre." Li Jinyan, who came out with a bowl of fragrant rice, saw Xia Jinyuan and gently placed the bowl of rice in front of Old Master Fu. Then, he walked over and placed the bowl of rice in front of Xia Jinyuan. With a cold expression, he said, "Today's performance has successfully refreshed my understanding of you. I'll wait for the day to come when your expression will be interesting." Xia Jinyuan replied with a smile. "Huh, laughing at him? Just wait." Li Jinyan replied calmly. "That day won't come." "Really?" Xia Jinyuan raised his eyebrows slightly. Seeing that Old Master Fu was looking at him kindly, he leaned forward slightly and smiled at Old Master Fu before speaking to Li Jinyan. "Don't be so certain. Don't you know that life is unpredictable? It won't." After Li Jinyan finished speaking, he went into the kitchen to continue serving the rice. What he didn't know was that what happened next. Sigh, what a slap in the face. Chapter 55-76. Xia Jinyuan was embarrassed to sit and wait alone. He wanted to help, but the old gentleman, who was still smiling, waved his hand and said, "No need, no need. You are a distinguished guest. Sit well today. You will have a chance to be busy in the future." It was his grandson-in-law's first New Year's visit, so he was an important guest. Father Fu, who had just returned from a phone call in the study, saw his future son-in-law sitting down. He recalled the scene again. Before he came over, his laughter had already reached Xia Jinyuan's ears. Xia Jinyuan just wanted his father-in-law to let him go. His father-in-law agreed to his request. He smiled and walked over to his son-in-law, patted him on the shoulder, and said, "Young man, you're still not mature enough." He was just good at pretending. If he hadn't opened the door to take a look, he would have been fooled. Xia Jinyuan pretended that his father-in-law was teaching him. He smiled modestly and elegantly. He opened the red bottle, and each person drank half a glass. Even the old man drank a little. He was in a good mood today, so drinking a little wine was fine as long as he didn't drink too much. At the dinner table, they mentioned a good day. Xia Jinyuan immediately agreed and said that he would ask Old Master Fu and Old Madam Fu to decide on a good day. Xia Jinyuan didn't stay the night. He had to go back and decide on a good day. There weren't many days left, so he had to hurry up. When Xia Jinyuan said goodbye to the Fu family, Yi Qian walked him out. Yi Qian drank more than half a glass of red wine because he was in a good mood. Yi Qian's face was red from the alcohol. He was a little dizzy, but when the cold night wind blew, he finally sobered up a little. Xia Jinyuan also drank more than half a glass, but his face didn't get drunk. He looked the same as before, so no one could tell that he was drunk. The family Xia chauffeur who came to pick him up sat in the car and waited for Xia Jinyuan to arrive. Feeling the cold wind, Xia Jinyuan, who was a little more clear-headed, held Yi Jian's hand. He exhaled a breath that reeked of alcohol and said with a smile, "I feel that you have something to say to me, my comrade fiancé." Yi Qian blushed and said, "You're not my fiancé yet. You'll be my fiancé in 3 days." Xia Jinyuan held her hand and kissed it. "And you didn't tell me that Qin Xiu came to your house this morning." His voice, his words, he was jealous. Yi Jianshao glared at him and said slowly, "Qin Xiu is Grandpa Qin's grandson. The Qin family and the Fu family live so close to each other, and the Qin family has been taking care of my grandpa all these years. It's not strange for him to visit the Fu family, right? Why? Are you jealous?" "I was just thinking that he was the one who saw you wearing a dress for the first time this year." Xia Jinyuan felt a little upset that he wasn't the first person who saw the dress that he bought for Xia Jinyuan, who was the legal wife of Xia Jinyuan. "You didn't see it when you bought it?" Yi Qian chuckled and said, "Okay, I didn't say that you were trying to trick me. You said you would work hard. I think you already had plans for the engagement. Otherwise, how did you get my dad to agree so quickly?" "I was just preparing for a rainy day. It's better to be safe than sorry." The cold wind was a little strong. Xia Jinyuan opened his coat and wrapped Yi Qian in his arms. He used his body temperature to warm Yi Qian. "Heaven and earth can be my witness. In order to marry you and get my father-in-law to agree, I really put in a lot of effort. What if my dad didn't agree today?" Yi Qian asked in a low voice as she pressed her face against his chest and listened to his heartbeat. The cold wind had already dispersed some of the alcohol, but because of his warm body temperature, her mind was a little muddled. She should drink less of this alcohol in the future. Chapter 55-77. Xia Jinyuan hugged her tightly and wrapped Yi Qian tightly with his coat. "I came prepared. Why wouldn't you agree?" "But what if you don't agree?" Perhaps she was a little drunk, but Yi Qian still wanted to know what he would do if she didn't agree. "Then you can only put it aside and wait for the next time." Xia Jinyuan chuckled and replied, "His baby was drunk. What if you still don't agree next time?" Yi Qian continued to ask. Xia Jinyuan was sure that she was really a little drunk. "I haven't done better. Father-in-law is still worried about handing over his precious daughter to me. I have to work harder. One day, Uncle will be moved by my sincerity." His voice was so low and gentle that it made her feel even more drunk. Yi Qian blinked her drunken eyes. Hearing his gentle voice, she felt even more drunk. "Are you that attached to me? Won't you give up on me because of this? I pursued you for so long. How can I give up now that I've set my mind on you?" Xia Jinyuan hugged the girl from the Shun family tightly. He rested his chin on her head and said, "No one in this world is more suitable for me than you, and no one will be more suitable for you than me. I won't give up on you, and you won't give up on me. We're destined to be lovers and comrades for the rest of our lives." They could brave through a storm of bullets together and trust each other with their backs. There was no one more suitable for each other than them. Drunk, really drunk. Yi Qian tightened her arms around his waist bit by bit. She heard him chuckle. "I haven't been so happy in a long time. I need to find something to do. My dear fiancé, Your fiancé is about to get straight to the point." He lowered his head and gently kissed Yi Qian's lips. The contact of their lips and teeth dispelled the coldness of the winter night. Yi Qian didn't reject him again. She was already slowly getting used to it and was starting to enjoy this feeling. Although the cold wind was cold, the lovers' hearts were strong enough to dispel the coldness. They were not afraid of the cold wind and kissed each other's necks. It wasn't a long kiss, but it was enough to make one drunk. Xia Jinyuan let go of Yi Qian and whispered in her ear, "I really hope this moment will end here. If time stops here, what should Captain Xia's ideals and aspirations be?" Yi Qian tilted her head and pressed her cheek against his lips. She moved slightly as if she was asking Xia Jinyuan to kiss her cheek. Xia Jinyuan kissed her gently and said, "If I can hold you like this forever, then the country will definitely be stable and the world will be at peace." This was the hope of every soldier, but this was only human idealization. As long as there were desires in this world, there would never be a day of true peace. Yi Jian smiled. She smiled and kissed the man who loved her so much, the man whom she loved so much. Xia Jinyuan, who was picked up by the chauffeur, returned home. When old Madame Fu and old Master Fu heard that the Fu family had agreed to the engagement, old Madame Fu was so happy that she hurriedly called her relatives at the ancestral home to ask her husband to pick a date. The next morning at around 9 o'clock, the ancestral home called. Her husband had already picked a date and said that the 4th day of the Lunar New Year was an auspicious day. The date that the old man had chosen was also the 4th day of the Lunar New Year, which happened to coincide with the date that the Xia family had chosen. Coincidentally, Father Fu was also going home on the 5th day of the Lunar New Year. After the engagement, there were still a few days left before their holiday. Yi Jian felt that she had been arranged perfectly. Chapter 5578. It was already the 2nd day of the Lunar New Year, which meant that tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, would be her engagement day. Old Master Fu was happily chatting with Master Xia on the phone. "The 4th day of the Lunar New Year is a good day. I'll entertain the guests today and decline the guests tomorrow. Let's prepare for our family's joyous occasion. Old Fu, we're going to be a real family from now on. Last night, Six Brother came back and told me that you've all agreed. Yuxing was so happy. I was so happy that I had a good time the whole night. Old Fu, thank you for valuing our family Xia so much that you're willing to betroth your only precious granddaughter to Six Brother. Don't worry, our whole family will definitely take good care of that girl. If Six Brother dares to bully her, our whole family won't let him off. No matter what he does, we'll be there to help him." When Xia Jinyuan heard this, he silently sent old Master Fu's original words to Yi Qian. When Yi Qian received the message, he couldn't help laughing. The Fu family would prepare, but family Xia needed even more preparation. The two old men talked for at least half an hour before hanging up. Today, the Fu family was very busy, and they had been busy since early in the morning. After hanging up, old Master Fu said to Uncle Fu, "See if there are any guests tomorrow. If there are, postpone it until after the 4th day of the Lunar New Year. We have to prepare on the 3rd day of the Lunar New Year." "Don't worry, leave it to me." Uncle Fu patted his chest and promised happily. The Fu family's joyous occasion was naturally of the utmost importance. However, he couldn't decline today. The guests today were all guests that had been arranged in advance. They were all old Master Fu's former subordinates and students. Some of them had called early to make an appointment, while others had called yesterday to make an appointment. Old Master Fu had also woken up early, changed his clothes, and waited for the guests to arrive. Yesterday, before old Master Fu went to bed, he had already told Yi Qian that tomorrow, Yi Qian would accompany him to receive the guests. Yi Qian was hesitant at first, but after thinking about it carefully, he realized that the old man had his own reasons for doing so. Hence, he obeyed the old man's wishes and got up early to accompany him to meet the guests. The first batch to arrive was the old man's first batch of students. Now, all of them were either chief engineers or deputy chief engineers. Yi Qian had seen many of them on TV before. They were all scientists who had made great contributions to the country. Old Master introduced them to Yi Qian. They were very curious when they saw Yi Qian beside Old Master. Old Master did not hide anything from them. He smiled and said, "She's my closest junior, my eldest granddaughter." Eldest granddaughter? Old Mister's granddaughter. This group of students knew about the old man's situation, and naturally, they also knew some things about Father Fu. They did not quite understand how the old man could have such a beautiful granddaughter. Old Master Fu did not explain too much. Naturally, they understood what he meant. They even praised Yi Qian seriously as they sized her up. Although they did not know that Yi Qian was Old Master Fu's biological granddaughter, because the appearance of his granddaughter was too sudden, they subconsciously thought that Yi Qian was Old Master Fu's granddaughter from his hometown. Great-granddaughters, grandnieces, and some cousins were all considered as granddaughters. Even the adopted relatives were also considered as granddaughters. However, no matter what granddaughter she was, based on Old Master Fu's introduction of her, her identity was worthy of their attention. Today, she accompanied Old Master Fu to receive the guests. Old Master Fu did not want to introduce her to them, but at least he wanted them to be familiar with her. Chapter 55-79. This young lady was the younger generation of the Fu family, which meant that if they met in the future, they would need to take good care of her. As the old man introduced her, Yi Jian also greeted her uncles and aunties from her father's generation. After greeting each of them, the old man held Yi Qian's hand and sat beside her. He said kindly, "Our girl is in the army. Although it might be difficult for her to meet, she still needs to get to know these uncles. You guys just need to treat her as your junior. You don't have to think too highly of her. She's just a kid. She doesn't know much. You guys are the elders that she should respect." Even though he only had one granddaughter, the old man did not want to give her any special treatment. Even Li Jinyan did not have any special treatment because of his relationship with the Fu family. The old man's introduction surprised some of the students. It turned out that she was also a female soldier. But when they thought about it, the old man was in the Air Force himself. His grandson, Li Jinyan, was also in the army. It was not strange that the young lady in front of them was also in the army. One of the uncles sized up Yi Qian and smiled. "I can tell that you're a soldier. You have the aura of a soldier." He was an engineer in the Air Force. Just as the old man said, they did not think highly of Yi Qian because of her status. On the contrary, they asked Yi Qian very seriously. They were checking on the old man. Suddenly, a granddaughter appeared out of nowhere. They were a little worried that she might be a liar. There were a total of 12 students, and each of them asked dozens of questions. When the uncles or aunties asked questions, Yi Qian addressed them respectfully with their correct surnames. In addition, Yi Qian was natural and generous. She could answer all the key questions asked one by one. The doubts in their hearts were reduced. An older student smiled at the old man and said, "Your granddaughter is not bad. She has a good memory. Her memory is indeed good. She can remember any book after reading it once. You can tell her your name, phone number, and home address. The next time you ask her, she will still remember it." The student was slightly surprised. Not shorthand, but rubbings? That's right. Shorthand has a time limit. The next time you ask her, she might not remember it. She is the epitome. She really remembers it in her heart. Knowing that his granddaughter was outstanding, the old man, who had always kept a low profile, couldn't help but speak up in front of his first batch of students. This piqued the interest of the uncles, and aunties. One after another, they came to take the Yi Qian exam. One of the uncles even took out a palm-sized book that was written in English from his bag and gave it to Yi Qian. He pointed at one of the pages and asked Yi Qian to read it. For the first time, Yi Qian felt like he was surrounded by gossips, so he was very obedient. After reading it once, he recited it. When he finished the last word, the uncle nodded and said, "Not bad. Everything is correct." They weren't very excited, mainly because they had seen many people with high IQ. Yi Qian was very glad that he was surrounded by a group of people with high IQ. After they were slightly curious about her, the topic quickly changed. The topic shifted to some recent technology and military matters. Although the old man had already retired, he was still a professor at the school and had many topics to talk about with them. Yi Qian watched from the side and helped to refill the tea. Although they didn't ask Yi Qian anymore, their eyes were secretly watching him. When they saw that Yi Qian was taking care of the old man, they couldn't help but secretly nod their heads. Chapter 5580. Every time Mr. Yi looked at Yi Qian, his eyes were full of kindness and he smiled happily. Naturally, he was even more pleased with Yi Qian. Before they left, they really did give Yi Qian their phone numbers and addresses. After that, one of the uncles deliberately tested Yi Qian. When he saw that she really gave him his address and phone number word for word, he was satisfied and left. Father Fu was not here. This morning, Father Fu received a call and left in a hurry. He also told Yi Qian that he might not be home tonight. This was a work-related matter, and Father Fu had to go somewhere to deal with it. On the second day of the Chinese New Year, Yi Qian received 3 groups of guests in the morning and afternoon. Mr. Yi left the table for dinner. When night came, Mr. Yi was exhausted and went to bed early. Yi Qian felt that although this was not as tiring as the physical training in the army, it was still tough, so she went back to her room early to rest. When it was about to go to bed, Yi Qian remembered that she had not had time to call Nian to wish her a happy new year. Yi Qian found Zhou Nian's number and called her. Nian was surprised to receive a call. Yi Qian only replied to her with a text and did not say anything else. She thought that he was in the army again. When she received the call, she was still a little unsure. "Hello, is this little Jane Eyre?" "Nian, it's me. Happy New Year." Yi Qian had just finished greeting her when she heard Nian scream happily. "Ah, it's really you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Where are you right now? Are you on duty in the army?" "I'm back in Beijing for the New Year. I'm not on duty, but I've been so busy that I forgot to call you." Yi Qian was also happy. "Sorry for taking so long to call you. You're really back in Beijing for the New Year? You're not trying to make me happy, are you?" Nian was still worried that Yi Qian was trying to coax her. "If you're trying to make me happy, I won't be happy." Yi Qian smiled until his eyes turned into crescents. "I'm really not coaxing you. I'm at home right now." "Then I believe you. How many days off do you have? Can you come out and play?" Nian believed him. Although she had only met Yi Qian a few times, the two of them could really talk, and they had many things in common. Because of this, even if they had only met a few times, they were still old friends. "I've been back for a few days. I thought I only had 3 days off, but I added 10 days at the last minute. I only returned to the army on the 5th day of the Lunar New Year." Yi Qian could tell that Nian was very happy, so he quickly took the opportunity to invite him. "Nian, are you free tomorrow afternoon? Can I invite you to my house? I haven't seen you in a long time, so I'd like to invite you over." "Tomorrow afternoon? I'm free." "Oh, if I had known you were in the capital, I would have come yesterday. When you sent me that message, I shouldn't have fallen asleep. I should have asked you." Nian blamed himself. "I haven't seen you in a long time." After that, she muttered something under her breath, but Yi Qian did not hear her clearly. "I didn't tell you in advance. It's my fault. Come to my house tomorrow, and I'll definitely ask for your forgiveness. I'll take care of your breakfast, lunch, and all 3 meals. How about that?" Nian nodded. Okay. I'm on leave for the New Year, so I have nothing to do at home. My aunts and uncles came over and urged me to find a boyfriend and get married. I was so worried that I wanted to run away from home, but my parents and brother didn't allow me to go out." Nian was just about to find an excuse to go out and lie low when she laughed even louder. "Ha ha ha, this is great. Call me, and my parents will definitely agree." Knowing that she would definitely come, Yi Qian happily hung up the phone. Chapter 5581. After Yi Qian confirmed that she could come over for the anniversary, she wanted to ask her elder brother, who had gone out to pay a New Year's visit in the afternoon and had yet to return. She had to make sure that the 2 most important leads would be present tomorrow. But before she could call Li Jinyan, the triumphant Xia Jinyuan called first. He was reporting to Yi Qian about the progress of their engagement preparations. Yi Qian listened quietly with a smile on his face. I'll leave it to you guys to make the arrangements. As for me, I don't know much about it, and I don't know what I can say. Grandpa and Grandma love me so much. They definitely won't let me down, so I'm not worried. My family hasn't made any preparations yet. Dad still has something to do today. I don't know if he'll be back tonight. Brother went out in the afternoon too and didn't answer. I wanted to ask him where he is now and if he'll be back tomorrow. Xia Jinyuan knew where his brother-in-law went, so he went to look for him in the afternoon. The two of them even had dinner outside and only returned home 10 minutes ago. Brother-in-law arrived about 50 minutes ago. He came to look for me this afternoon, and we talked about the engagement. You can just wait to become my fiancé the day after tomorrow. Yi Qian didn't even need to interfere with the engagement. The old man sent Li Jinyan directly to tell Xia Jinyuan about the rules and etiquette of their hometown. As the messenger, Li Jinyan naturally had a good chat with Xia Jinyuan. He didn't want Yi Qian to worry, so he simply said that he was going out to pay a New Year's visit. It was only then that Yi Qian found out that his eldest brother, who hadn't returned yet, had gone to meet with Xia Jinyuan. They must have been discussing the engagement. Thinking about the day after tomorrow, Yi Qian's face heated up slightly. He changed the topic. I was on the phone with Nyin just now and asked her to come to Dangui Garden tomorrow afternoon. I was just about to ask my brother about his plans for tomorrow afternoon to get some information from him. Looks like you're planning to be a matchmaker. Xia Jinyuan teased. Why? Are you worried about your brother-in-law now that your marriage has been settled? I'm worried about him. As his sister, I'm worried about him being single at such an old age. Besides, Grandpa likes Nyin and has always wanted to matchmake her and my brother. I had some misgivings before. I was afraid that I would do something bad with good intentions. Later, I found out that the two of them were clearly interested in each other and had good feelings for each other. It's just that no one was willing to take the initiative to break through that layer of window paper. Since that's the case, then I'll be a matchmaker. Who knows, it might work. Do you need me to come over tomorrow afternoon? Xia Jinyuan really didn't know that the iceberg Li Jinyan would actually have feelings for a girl. Thinking of how Li Jinyan had said something like impossible last night, Xia Jinyuan couldn't wait to see him get slapped in the face. You want to come over? Sure, you can teach my brother and let him take the initiative. You really wanted to go over? Or is it dispensable? As a famous man, Xia Jinyuan already had a fiancée. Yi Qian didn't have one, but he did. Hearing this, Yi Qian wanted to laugh. He played along and said leisurely, I hope Captain Xia can come over and accompany me. Are you satisfied? He felt like he was speaking more and more casually. He was like a completely different person from the Captain Xia that he used to know. Could it be that he was a little out of control because of his status? Chapter 55-82. However, Yi Qian doted on her and went along with it. Then I hope that my future fiancé will come and accompany me. Are you satisfied? There was nothing she could do. Xia Jinyuan also doted on her and went along with her wishes. I think you should get rid of the future, which means it's the day after tomorrow. Xia Jinyuan continued. He knew that Yi Qian was embarrassed, but it didn't matter. He would get the result he wanted. Captain Xia, did you drink again today? Yi Qian was at his wit's end. This. Wasn't he acting like she did last night? What goes around comes around, and it was her turn tonight. I just want to give myself a proper status. Since you're not willing to take the initiative, I can only think of a way myself. Xia Jinyuan sighed helplessly. Brother-in-law even said today that I've finally become an official employee. It's a joyous occasion. Be good, tell me. You must know what I want to hear. Xia Jinyuan, who was drunk, clung to Yi Qian like a honeybee. My current fiancé and future husband are all things I want to hear. The woman he loved deeply was bold and fearless, but when it came to matters of love, she was thin-skinned. It was good that she was fine. The more thin-skinned she was, the more he wanted to see. This time, Yi Qian was no longer pampered. She had always been good at following the flow of events, and after drinking, she became even better at it. Okay, I'm not going to argue with you anymore. I'm going to ask my brother about his arrangements and ask him to make some time tomorrow afternoon. If you want to come, you can make an appointment later and say that you'll come to Dangue Garden tomorrow morning. My brother will definitely be waiting for you at home for my matter. If I tell him directly that I'll be back every day, I don't know if he'll avoid me." Judging from the conversation between Yi Qian and Li Jinyan on the eve of the Lunar New Year, it was entirely possible. Xia Jinyuan stood outside in the cold wind and spoke. His fiancée valued his brother-in-law's marriage very much, so he had to comply with his fiancée. "Baby, you might not seem so deliberate. The two of you met directly at home. With my brother-in-law's intelligence, he would know your intentions at first sight. Originally, the two of them had not made their relationship clear. Your arrangement here would make them feel a little awkward. In order to help my brother-in-law get out of being single as soon as possible, I will definitely come over tomorrow." In order to see his brother-in-law slap his own face as soon as possible, he had to go and help. However, he couldn't let his cunning fox see any clues. Otherwise, she wouldn't allow him to pass. Xia Jinyuan narrowed his eyes and asked with a smile, "Is there any benefit in helping your fiancé? Since you said you would help your fiancé, what other benefits do you want?" Yi Qian asked Xia Jinyuan. "Little brat, don't think I'll fall for it." He always mentioned the word fiancé. Naturally, she would want to receive some benefits in order to get him to do something for her. "Okay, since it's my fiancé's orders, Xia Jinyuan will follow them." This time, Xia Jinyuan was straightforward. Since she already said she was his fiancée, what was he waiting for? He had to go. "Just you wait, brother-in-law. When the time comes, your face will hurt." Early the next morning, Yi Qian and Li Jinyan both got up. Yi Qian opened the door, and Li Jinyan did the same. The two siblings looked at each other and laughed. They were clearly from different branches of the military, but their habits were exactly the same. Chapter 55-83. Last night, Yi Qian went to bed very early and went to bed at around 9 o'clock. As for Li Jinyan, he didn't return to Dangue Garden in 40 to 50 minutes like Xia Jinyuan had said. Instead, he only returned home at around 12 o'clock. No one knew where he had gone in the intervening hours. Yi Qian looked deeply at Li Jinyan, who had returned in the middle of the night. She revealed a meaningful smile, as if she understood everything. Li Jinyan closed the door behind him and lifted his chin in the direction of the staircase, indicating that if there was anything, they could talk outside. Yi Qian gladly complied. She wanted to see what her brother, who had returned in the middle of the night, had to say to her. In the end, Li Jinyan didn't say anything after her morning run. "Brother, you're lying to me, right?" Yi Qian, whose breathing had calmed down, glared at Li Jinyan, who was stretching his limbs and preparing to go home. "Didn't you have something to say to me? You coaxed me out, and now you're not going to say anything?" Li Jinyan, who was moving in place, did a few kickboxing moves forward. He looked serious and focused, as if he hadn't heard Yi Qian. Pretending to be deaf and mute, he was clearly pretending to be deaf and mute. Yi Qian's eyes flickered. The moment Li Jinyan threw another punch, she moved as fast as lightning and caught Li Jinyan's wrist. She held it tightly and didn't give him a chance to withdraw his hand. "I didn't lie to you." Li Jinyan, who had finally opened his mouth, looked very natural. Lie to her? No, he didn't lie to her. Yi Qian was shocked by his act of foolishness. "Brother, when did you learn to be bad? When we came out just now, didn't you use your eyes to tell me to talk outside?" Why did her brother, who was the worst at lying, become so sly? "Talk outside." Li Jinyan frowned slightly, as if he didn't understand. "There's nothing to talk about. You've misunderstood." Yi Qian almost laughed at his brother's innocent expression. He loosened his grip on his brother's wrist and glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. He snorted with a fake smile. "Is that so? Captain Xia said that you'll take about 40 to 50 minutes, and you won't be home before 9 o'clock. But I didn't get home until midnight last night. Don't think that just because I didn't come out, I didn't know when you came home. I heard you open the door. By the way, Grandpa asked the uncles and aunties to arrange blind dates for you in front of his first batch of students yesterday. He also said that if there are any suitable ones, Why don't we arrange them for you in the next few days? I'm guessing that Grandpa will be called today. Tomorrow, no. Maybe you can go out for blind dates, starting from this afternoon. Believe it then. Yin will come over. I'll tell her then that you're not at home because you went on a blind date. Li Jinyin was expressionless when he heard that. He did not react at all and did not take it to heart. Even if there were blind dates arranged, he would not go. However, Li Jinyin's expression changed slightly when he heard the latter part of the sentence. He frowned and asked Yi Qian, "When will she come over? When will she come over?" Yi Qian followed suit and played dumb. Huh, who doesn't know how to play dumb? She knows how to play dumb, too. It depends on who is the most anxious. Of course, Li Jinyin was the most anxious. I didn't go anywhere last night. I was outside alone for a few hours. Li Jinyin explained where he went last night. Yi Qian did not really need to know where her brother went last night. She just needed to know what time he was last night and whether the place or the person he met had anything to do with the anniversary. If it did, then the possibility of them being together was higher. If it didn't, then she naturally would not ask in detail. Chapter 55-84. Everyone had their own space. Even if she was his younger sister, she had no right to ask. Li Jinyin's answer made Yi Jin's eyes flash with a smile of understanding. Did you go to a place with a story? With her brother's personality, it was impossible for him to sit outside alone for a few hours. It must have been a special place for him to go. Li Jinyin and Yi Qian were actually quite similar. They didn't like to tell others about their personal matters. Just like Yi Qian, who was very close to Jiasin back then, she rarely talked about her relationship with Xia Jinyuan. Firstly, she wasn't used to it. Secondly, she didn't think it was necessary. Seeing the smile in Yi Jian's eyes, Li Jinyin gently patted her head. There was a hint of indulgence in his helpless smile. The train station. Do you still need to ask? The train station. Yi Qian's eyes suddenly lit up, and she shook her head. Don't ask, don't ask. She knows everything. She knows everything. This time, Yi Qian didn't ask any more questions. She was completely sure that he wouldn't do anything wrong. But would he be disgusted? Yi Qian, who was shouldering the heavy responsibility of matchmaking for the first time, was still very nervous. She then texted Xia Jinyuan again. He didn't have enough experience, so he had to ask for leave. As a bachelor who had to explain his personal matters to the whole team, he must have a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Yi Qian was secretly glad that Xia Jinyuan would come today. With him by her side, Yi Qian felt a lot more at ease. When she got home, the old master had already woken up. While Li Jinyin went upstairs to wash up, Yi Qian sat next to the old master, who was reading the morning newspaper. She secretly whispered with a smile, "Grandpa, a friend of mine came over today. She's a friend you wanted to invite to our house the most." Really? Hearing this, the old master stopped reading the newspaper and closed it. He leaned over to his granddaughter and laughed softly. "Not bad, little girl. You're very efficient. This concerns my brother's marriage, so I have to be efficient." I told her that in addition to you and me, there was also my brother in the family. Guess what Ninian replied? The elderly liked it when the younger generation got close to them and said some intimate words. Yi Qian was the one that the elderly doted on the most. Anything he said could make the elderly happy. The smile on the old man's face deepened. Come. Tell Grandpa, what did Ninian say?" "Oh," she replied, "she knows." Yi Qian was smiling so much that his eyes were squinted. His palm-sized face was still filled with pride. When the old man saw this, he was even happier. "We need to tell the guards at the gate to let Ninian in when he arrives. Xiaoyi needs to be informed as well." The old man had already started making arrangements. "Come in the morning? Or in the afternoon? Do you want me to stay for lunch?" "You'll have to ask your Uncle Fu to make the necessary preparations. I came this morning, but I didn't tell brother. I wanted to give him a surprise." As he spoke, Yi Qian glanced at the second floor, in case the walls had ears. The old man smiled and tapped Yi Qian on the forehead. "Little rascal, I'm afraid this won't be a surprise for you. It will be you who will be surprised. Your brother is a reserved person. I'm worried that he will be so scared that he will hide in his room and not come out. They threw the newspapers in their hands onto the coffee table and started chatting with Yi Qian. The old master loved anniversaries very much. Now that he knew that she would be coming over, he was very happy. Why was he still reading the newspaper? It wouldn't be too late to read it after she finished talking. The newspaper wouldn't run away. If his granddaughter-in-law didn't treat him well, it might run away. Chapter 55-85. Yi Qian just wanted to make the old man happy. Seeing this, the smile on her face deepened. Grandpa, you don't have to worry. I've even asked Sixth Brother to come over. He'll accompany Cousin. Are you still worried that Sixth Brother won't do well? You can also chat more with Nyin. You can't just look at whether Nyin and Brother are compatible. You also have to look at whether Brother and Nyin are compatible. The old man was biased towards the younger generation. No matter how good other people's children were, they were still other people's children. No matter how bad their own children were, they were still their own children. Yi Qian treated Nyin as a true friend. Although she was happy to talk about her relationship with Li Jinyan, she didn't want to disrespect her friends and force them to be together. She also didn't want the old man to like Nyin and think that she was compatible with Li Jinyan. Of course, the old man understood what his granddaughter was saying. Our girl is kind and attentive to her friends. This is very good. When interacting with her friends, she must be open and honest. She must not be selfish and only want to take advantage of them. In the long run, she won't have any friends around her. Nyin is a good child. She's also the Zhou family's favorite daughter. She won't be ruined by others. Naturally, we have to respect Nyin's wishes. We can't force anything. Grandfather also needs to say a few words to you. Your brother's marriage is important, but the friendship between you and Nyin is equally important. Whether it succeeds or not, you mustn't let it affect your friendship. Yi Qian nodded seriously. She knew, which was why she said this to the old man. The grandfather and granddaughter chatted until Li Jinyan came downstairs. Nyin arrived at around 9 in the morning. This time, she drove and didn't ask Yi Qian to pick her up. The trunk of the car was filled with gifts. When Mrs. Zhou found out that her daughter was going to Engui Garden to pay a New Year visit to the old man, she initially thought that her daughter was deliberately finding an excuse to avoid the blind date. She even laughed and slapped Nyin's back. Dangui Garden, Dangui Garden. This wasn't a place where ordinary people lived. They were all outstanding people from all walks of life who had made great contributions to the construction and development of the country. However, when she asked Mrs. Zhou to look at her phone message, Mrs. Zhou finally believed that her daughter was not looking for an excuse. Then, he deliberately asked who the old man was. Then, he ran to his room, took out a book of famous people, and flipped to the old man's introduction. When Mrs. Zhou saw the introduction, she almost fainted. When did her daughter become so capable? She even knows the country's officials. Seeing Zhou Nyin only ring 2 pieces of fruit to give New Year's greetings, Mrs. Zhou, who almost fainted, wants to beat Zhou Nyin up with the mop at home. What a worrisome child. How could he casually twist a fruit to give a New Year's greeting? Mrs. Zhou still feels that the gift is too light. Since it's anniversary, she doesn't give her a chance to show off. Mrs. Zhou gets in the car, steps on the accelerator, and rushes out of their compound. The security guards at the entrance stop the car, as usual, and check the identity of the car. Since the old man had personally informed them, the security guards naturally knew about it. After verifying that there was no mistake, they immediately let the car pass. After Zhou Nyin was let in by the guards, he drove to the Fu family mansion without any guidance. Looking at the mansion in front of him, Zhou Nyin took a deep breath. She's here again. This time, there was an additional person inside that she wanted to meet but was too embarrassed to meet. He also made her grind her teeth in the middle of the night and want to beat him up. Chapter 55-86. Yi Qian had been waiting for Nyin since she entered the house. As soon as the car entered her line of sight, she quickly ran over to greet them. Nyin took a deep breath and saw the figure running out of the courtyard. Her nervousness instantly disappeared. She stopped the car, opened the door, and then Xia Jinyuan, who was standing inside, heard the two of them screaming excitedly in the courtyard. Yi Jian hugged Nian Anian and refused to let go. We finally meet again. Today, other than my grandfather, my brother, and my fiancée, Xia Jinyuan, are all at home. My father has some matters to attend to and will only be back later. Grandfather knew that you were coming and told me that you must stay the night. Do you want to stay the night? There's no need for that. We live close to each other, so you should introduce your fiancée to me. Let's go and wish the old man a happy new year. Nian Yin said happily. After taking a few steps, she slapped herself on the forehead. See, I remember. The gifts in the back compartment. Come, help me carry them in. Outside, the two girls were chatting happily. There were also people standing inside, waiting for them to enter the house. Brother-in-law, aren't you going to greet the guest? Xia Jinyuan, who had intentionally rushed over early to see his brother-in-law slap himself in the face, smiled. I heard that this guest is a female SWAT officer who has interacted with you before. Upon hearing this, Li Jinyan glanced coldly at Xia Jinyuan. We have never interacted before. Don't ruin her reputation. To have interacted with her meant that they had an intimate past. This was what Li Jinyan understood. Xia Jinyuan did not seem to understand what he was talking about. He looked confused and surprised. What nonsense are you thinking about? I'm talking about the fact that you were once interrogated by that female SWAT officer as a criminal. What do you mean, ruin her reputation? I don't even understand what you're talking about. When it came to debating, Li Jinyan was no match for Xia Jinyuan. Li Jinyan knew that what he was trying to explain was not what he was talking about. Li Jinyan could not win against him. Forget it. He could not win against him. He could only stay away. The main thing was the sounds of chatter and laughter outside were getting closer and closer. They were so close that they could hear the sound of footsteps. Li Jinyan felt that if he continued to stand there, it would be a bit abrupt. Xia Jinyuan snickered and raised his voice. You still have to go out for a photo shoot. Before Xia Jinyuan could finish his sentence, Li Jinyan seemed to have sensed something. He turned around abruptly and shot a piercing gaze at Xia Jinyuan. Nian Anian and Yi Qian had already entered. Li Jinyan looked at the two slender figures and replied stiffly, We're not going anywhere. We're staying at home. Only Li Jinyan himself knew if he was going to say it to Xia Jinyuan. Nian Yan's heart thumped uncontrollably. Was he talking to her? Yi Qian, who didn't know what was going on, received a look from his fiancée. His eyes flashed with a deep smile. Indeed, Captain Xia had a trick up his sleeve. Old Master Lu was in the living room. Zhou Ninian came in to wish him a happy new year. Old Master Lu loved Zhou Ninian's energetic smile. That kind of smile was happy, cheerful, bright, and without a trace of gloominess. When you saw her smile, even if you were in a bad mood, you would feel happy because of her smile. She was also very amiable. From the looks of it, no one would think that she was actually a female special police officer. Happy New Year, Nian. Grandpa hasn't seen you in a long time. Nian was very respectful to Old Master Lu. She hurriedly said, No, I see you often. When you go to university to teach, I see you often. It's just that you're too busy, so I don't want to disturb you. Chapter 55-87. The Red Star of 10,000 Miles did not disappoint. Chapter 55-87. Secret Service, I Want to Be Her Sister-in-Law. Urban Romance. Chapter 55-87. Secret Service to be her sister-in-law. She had seen the old man a few times during anniversary, so she was too embarrassed to disturb him. The old man wanted her to come over, so he smiled kindly. Grandpa isn't busy. Jane Eyre and Jean are both in the army. Grandpa, you're home alone, so you're always welcome. Come. Quick, take a seat. As he spoke, the old man instructed Li Jinyan, Jinyan, quick, make some tea for Nian. He did not even ask for Uncle Fu's help. Instead, he instructed Li Jinyan directly. Seeing this, Li Jinyan had no choice but to go into the kitchen and bring some tea over. He saw the old man asking Zhou Ninian how he was doing recently. How was she recently? Li Jinyan, who was carrying 2 cups of tea, had already slowed down his footsteps. Thank you for your concern, old mister. I've been on holiday recently, so I've been bored at home. I was just thinking about finding a reason to go out when Jane Eyre called me, so I hurried over. You don't know, but my family's aunts have been coming to my door, asking me all kinds of questions and even introducing me to a blind date. Just thinking about it gives me a headache, so I might as well go out for a walk. Tea leaves floated in the air, and a clear cup of tea was handed to Nyen Junyan. Nyen Junyan's limbs stiffened, and he quickly got up to take the teacup. "Thank you," she spoke in a low voice, not daring to look at Li Jinyan's face. Li Jinyan retracted his hand and said, "You're welcome. It's what I should do." Seeing that Zhou Ninian was still holding the teacup, he frowned slightly and reminded him in a low voice, "Be careful, it's hot. And friends, please prompt. Pay attention to the rest of your eyes after reading for a long time." 00 recommended reading. MBSB. Did she like to hold a cup? Nien Nien didn't expect him to talk to him. He was already a little unnatural, so when he heard that, his body stiffened even more. After an ah sound, he lowered his head even more. "It's okay. It's not hot. Leave it there for now." After Li Jinyan finished speaking, he took the teacup from her hand. When he turned around, he saw the old man, Yi Qian, and Xia Jinyuan looking at him with interest. Li Jinyan took a deep breath and explained, "It's hot." He gave a one-word explanation and left with the teacup. Yi Qian blinked. "Hot." Then, he didn't give Ninian any more tea. The old man, who had been through countless storms, was also stunned by his grandson's actions. What did this mean? Hot. Holding the teacup and not giving it to him? Xia Jinyuan smiled and said, "Big brother must have changed Ms. Zhou's teacup to a new one. It's the custom to hold a teacup on an anniversary. Should he change her teacup for a non-hot one?" For some reason, Zhou Ninian felt that her face was a little hot. She nodded her head generously. "I'd like to hold the teacup. I didn't expect you to be able to tell at a glance." Yi Qian smiled. "My brother is very attentive. As long as he pays attention, he can find out." Nien Annie glanced at her friend. What did it feel like? Little Jane Eyre was implying something? Oh, no. Could it be that she saw something? After a moment, Nien Annie couldn't sit still anymore. Little Jane Eyre treated her as a friend, and she, cough, wanted to be her sister-in-law. Li Jinyan, who was holding the porcelain cup, walked over and handed the cup to Nien Annie, who was thinking, a friend treats her as a friend, and she wants to be her friend's sister-in-law. Her expression changed in shock. Guilty, too guilty. Li Jinyan's expression also changed. Why did she look like she was frightened? Porcelain cups. They won't burn your hands. Li Jinyan's usually cold voice had a tinge of gentleness that even he didn't notice. Be careful not to spill the hot water. Nien Annie, who wanted to be her friend's sister-in-law, was extremely guilty. She hurriedly nodded to show that she understood. Chapter 55-88. 10,000 miles of Red Star will live up to your expectations. It must be a special fate. Urban romance. Jieq, it must be a special fate. Yi Qian and Old Master Yi had exchanged glances countless times. There was a chance. There was definitely a chance. In the family, Old Master Yi knew his grandson, Li Jinyan, best. Other than his sister, Yi Qian, Old Master Yi had never seen him take the initiative to show concern for a girl. At this moment, seeing how Li Jinyan was worried about Zhou Ninian being scalded by the cup, and then worried about being scalded by the boiling water, there must be a story behind his concern. Your brother is probably a little enlightened. Old Master Yi whispered to Yi Qian, "Grandpa, it wasn't easy for you to wait for this day. Hard work pays off. You finally waited for it." Yi Qian tried not to laugh. "Don't worry. Let nature take its course. There will definitely be a result." "Sigh, that won't do. With your brother's personality, he'll only be enlightened once in a while. Soon, he'll be blocked again. You and Six Brother should discuss and see if you can add fuel to the fire." As they were talking, Xia Jinyuan's phone rang. It was Xia Yunin. Xia Jinyuan excused himself and went to the side. He could come and go as he pleased in the Fu family as if he was at home, and Old Master Yi liked how casual he was. They were family, so how could he treat himself as an outsider? Li Jinyan sat on old Master Ye's right, and Yi Qian sat on his left. Take note of your eyes if you read for a long time. Zhou Ninian, who was sitting on the single-seater sofa, felt a little awkward, but she was an open-minded person. She quickly put those feelings aside and chatted happily with old Master Yi. The old man said that if she saw him after the anniversary, she couldn't avoid him anymore. Zhou Ninian replied that as long as the old man didn't dislike her noise, she would definitely come. The old man also said that he was tired from work and had to take good care of himself. Zhou Ninian replied that his body was as strong as a calf, and he could even win against several male special police officers in the team. Just like that, the old man and the young man chatted. Yi Qian was all smiles as he accompanied them. The old man was talking about the anniversary, so naturally, Yi Qian would not interrupt him. At this moment, she could tell that the old man really liked a granddaughter-in-law like Ninian. After chatting for a while, Yi Qian smiled and continued. Ninian, I was right, wasn't I? My grandfather is kind and amiable. He's happy that you're here. Nian Anian, who had been chatting for a long time, smiled with her eyes curved into crescents. She liked to smile more than Yi Qian. When she smiled, she was full of sunshine. Do I need you to tell me that? The first time we met, I already knew that old master was very kind. Unlike a certain person who was so cold that she wanted to pat his face and ask him if he was faking it. Ha ha! Ninian and my family are fated. The old man smiled. There was no such thing as fate. Yi Jian immediately understood what the old man was trying to say. The Nian in Ninian's name was the same as the Nian in her brother's name, Li Jinyan. The old man felt that it was a coincidence and fate. There were many men and women in the world with the Nian in their names. To be honest, there was nothing special about it. It was all fate. It was just that the old man liked Nian Anian, so he felt that she was fated to be with his family. Yi Qian understood, Li Jinyan understood, but Nian Anian did not. Hearing this, she said happily, "Isn't that so? Yi Qian and I have only met a few times, but we felt like old friends at first sight. It's as if we grew up together. Isn't that fate?" Even Li Jinyan, who was the most composed man in the world, could not help but rub his forehead when he heard this. She was a rather careless girl. Fortunately, she was a strict worker. Otherwise, he would be worried that she would make mistakes at work. Chapter 55-89. Yi Qian smiled and glanced at her elder brother, who was rubbing his forehead. She pretended not to understand and walked to Zhou Ninian's side. She sat on the armrest of the sofa and put her hands on Zhou Ninian's shoulders. She laughed and said, "We're sisters. I'm your younger sister and you're my older sister. What do you think?" Good. God, you don't know. I'm the youngest in the family. Everyone above me is my older brother and sister. When I was young, I wrote about my dream. I wrote that my dream was to become an older sister. Sigh, I'm bringing up sad things again. Later, my teacher thought that my writing was good and sincere. She even used a lot of idioms. That day, she came to visit my house, and then, after she left, I was beaten up by my mother again. This was really sad. The old man laughed until he patted his chest. Ha! This girl was really a clown who made people happy. You look like a good girl. I can't. I was like a boy when I was young. I was too naughty. When I watched Hong Kong period dramas, there was a big kite flying for the top of a hill. I thought it was really possible. I was worried that the kite would break if I flew too high, so I thought of using my grandma's bedsheet. Yi Jian and Zhou Ninian laughed so hard that they collapsed on the single-seater sofa. They were so close to each other that they were as close as real sisters. Yi Jian and Zhou Ninian were so close that they were like sisters. The old man laughed and said to Li Jinyan, "Look at how happy your sister is. Ninian is really a good girl. Grandpa likes her very much. I see that Xiao has also grown up. He hasn't found a girlfriend yet. Although he's a little quiet, he's much more talkative than you." The Ministry of Foreign Affairs news release is very insightful. I think Ninian will like Xiao, and Xiao will like Ninian. Go to the Qin family now and see if he's there. If he's there, let him come over. Li Jinyan didn't move. He just said, She just said that it wasn't easy for her to find an excuse to escape from the blind date. Are you going to arrange another one for her here? That's different. I'm not arranging a blind date. It's for you young people to get to know each other. The old man ignored Sun Y's frown. The more he spoke, the more he felt that this matter was feasible. There was no problem at all. No. I'll call the Qin family personally. Give me the landline. Li Jinyin didn't move. She's talking about making a kite out of bed sheets. She was naturally referring to the anniversary. Anian was laughing so hard that he was about to explode. I took the bedsheet to the platform where my dad and the others were training. I used a bamboo pole to hold the four corners of the bedsheet and asked my brother to tie it up for me. That's the sun. I'm going to learn Hong Kong opera from the platform that's more than 4 meters high. In the end, before he could fly, he was pounced on like a tiger and pressed to the ground, unable to move. Then I heard an uncle shouting into a walkie-talkie, "Old Joe, what are you doing? Your daughter is going to jump off a building. Do you know that?" I even replied, "Uncle, I'm not jumping off the building. I'm doing experiments." 3 minutes. My dad and mom arrived. My dad was scared, but my mom was too strong. Not only was she not scared, she even had a bamboo stick in her hand. You don't need to guess to know what the outcome was. I was beaten by my mom again. Yi Qian laughed until his stomach hurt. When Yin Enian was young, he was completely a brat. He was the kind of brat who got beaten up every 2 to 3 days. Chapter 5590. The Red Star of 10,000 Miles did not disappoint. Chapter 5590. Betrayal, Urban Romance. Chapter 5590. Betrayal in a state of panic. Nian Yin was not an ordinary child. In Mrs. Zhou's words, if she had a pair of wings, she would be able to fly. Do you think this is over? No, you're too naive. When talking about the painful education of their childhood, Enian felt that a handful of bitter tears were not enough. It would take several buckets. She sighed. That's not all. My mother is also from the police academy. She's very brave. I was beaten until I was crying. My mother wrapped a training rope around my waist and pulled me to the edge of the platform. She pushed me down in front of my father and his colleagues. Before I landed on the ground, I vaguely heard my dad, a 1.8-meter-tall man from the northeast, scream like a pig being slaughtered. My uncles were very agile. Before I landed on the ground, several ropes were thrown at me. I still remember that one of the ropes was thrown too fast and directly hit my head. Yi Qian really wanted to give her good friend some face, but she was really sorry. She was already laughing so hard that she couldn't stop. On the other side, Li Jinyin, who was taking care of the old man and patting his back from time to time, couldn't help but smile. As for the anniversary, she didn't smile. Instead, she had a bitter look on her face. She rubbed her forehead and sighed. You know about the training rope. It was thick and heavy, and it fell from above with a pa sound. Wasn't I crying? I was suddenly pushed by me, and I was scared silly. In the end, the rope hit my head, and it was like a life-saving straw being taken away by someone. I was knocked unconscious by the rope. Yi Qian rubbed his belly and laughed. Friends, please prompt. Pay attention to the rest of your eyes after reading for a long time. 00 recommended reading. I dare say that you didn't faint because you were whipped by the rope. Instead, you fainted because you were pushed by Mrs. Zhou. Heroine, please remember one thing. See through it, but don't say it. Nian Anian glared at Yi Qian with an unthreatening gaze. The moment he retracted his gaze slid past Li Jinyan's face, unsure if it was intentional or not. As a special police officer, and a very powerful one at that, Nian Yin's observation skills were still very strong. Just like that, she glided past, and she also saw Li Jinyan's eyes smiling because of her childhood embarrassment. Such a cold man actually smiled. This was the first time she had seen him smile. Oh my God. When he smiled, he looked really good. He laughed so hard that her heart skipped a beat. Li Jinyan was also a very powerful Special Forces soldier. Moreover, he had been keeping an eye on Nian Yin. So, Nian Yin's gaze might have been able to fool others, but it didn't escape his eyes. Their eyes met at the last second before they separated from each other. Nian Junyan panicked. Perhaps he felt that he had lost face by panicking first, so he rolled his eyes at Li Jinyan. Huh, so he also knows how to smile. She thought that he didn't know how to smile. In order to make him smile, she had to dig up her own dark past. Was it easy for her? Sigh. It was hard to be a woman, but it was even harder to be a woman who had to take the initiative to chase after a man. Li Jinyan, who had suddenly received an eye roll, laughed even harder. She was really a clown. He retracted his gaze and chuckled softly. He said to the old man, "Drink some water, don't laugh too hard." The old man, who was laughing, witnessed the historic moment when their eyes met for the first time. Then the old man laughed even louder. He took a sip of hot tea and smiled as he asked Unyielding, "What happened after that? What happened to you after that?" Chapter 5591. Old Master Fu's interest was piqued. There were not many children in the Fu family, and the few that he did not keep were all unconventional in their behavior. However, none of them were as mischievous as Zhou Ninian. It was the same for the children of the Qin family. They had never done anything as shameless as overturning the roof tiles. All of a sudden, there was such an anomaly as Yin Yin. The old man only felt that it was rare. After I was beaten to tears, I was successfully scared out of my wits. Then a rope fell from the sky and knocked me out. I heard that after I fainted, even a man like my father was so scared that his legs went weak. As for my mom, sigh, my mom always says that if it weren't for her spine injury, she would definitely be more manly than my dad. My uncle said that when I fainted, my manly mother put 2 fingers in front of my nose to check my breath and told my uncles that I was fine, that I had just fainted. Then she left me, who had fainted, and went to comfort my dad, whose legs were weak. She doesn't care about me anymore. She only cares about my father. When my father saw the red mark on my forehead, his heart ached for a few days. My mother didn't feel anything at all. He even told me, when I was young, that it was a red mark of glory, just like the wounds on your father's body. It was all glory. I was so happy. I told everyone I met that this was my glory, this was my glory. I was so proud in the courtyard for a whole week. The story ends here, and from now on, I will never dare to make such a foolish mistake again. But Yi Qian felt that the story was definitely not over yet. There was more to come. When the red mark was gone, how were you going to explain it to your friends? When I woke up early in the morning and saw that the red mark was gone, I panicked. Didn't they use red paper in the past? I soaked the red paper in the water and smeared the red water on my face. Don't talk about it. I was wearing a white short-sleeve shirt that day. Later, that white short-sleeve shirt that was dyed red was my bloody lesson. I was beaten up by my mother again. He originally thought that he could continue playing glory, but he never thought that he would be beaten up again. During the anniversary of her childhood, she had spent a long time secretly eating sweets to comfort her young and wounded heart. Yi Qian, who was laughing so hard that tears were coming out of her eyes, lay on Zhou Ninian's body and refused to get up. Mrs. Zhou is not your typical tough self. Indeed, only Mrs. Zhou could deal with you. That's right. My dad was scared of me back then. As long as I smiled at him, even if he wanted to go to the toilet, he would hold it in and run away. The old man felt that if he continued to laugh, his blood pressure would soar. This Ninian was really like a little son. He could warm himself and others. Qin Xiu, who had come over with Father Fu, heard a familiar laughter as soon as he entered the room. He was slightly stunned. Yi Qian's laughter was deliberately relaxed and cheerful. When Father Fu heard this, he laughed. Looks like my little girl has a friend here. She's laughing so hard that she doesn't even care about her image. She's a good friend. Xiu, don't just stand there. Let's go in first. Father Fu and Qin Xiu met at the entrance of Dangui Garden. Father Fu drove, while Qin Xiu walked. In the end, Father Fu brought Qin Xiu all the way home. Dad, you're back. Yi Qian's eyes were sharp. When he saw Father Fu coming back, he happily waved at Qin Xiu. However, his smile was slightly restrained. Zhou Ninian, who was holding a teacup and drinking water, quickly put down the teacup and followed Yi Qian's line of sight. When he saw who it was, he hurriedly swallowed the water in his mouth and stood up to greet Father Fu. Chapter 5592. When Father Fu saw that the two girls were still holding hands as they got up from the sofa, he was even more certain that the girl who greeted him was his daughter's good friend. Don't stand on ceremony. Don't stand on ceremony. Quickly sit down. This was the first time Yi Qian had invited a friend over. Father Fu was very welcoming. When he saw Yin standing up, her posture was similar to his daughter's. As a soldier, Father Fu was amused. Are you a policeman or a soldier? Dad, Yin is a special police officer from Beijing. Yi Qian held Yin's hand and smiled brightly. They're very famous. They're the ones who attend every big meeting. Father Fu's smile widened. Special police officers are good. Special police officers are good. Every time the Spring Festival is approaching, special police officers can be seen everywhere. You guys have worked hard. You've worked hard. Qin Xiu was still behind. After Father Fu finished speaking, he turned around and urged, Xiu, come in and sit down. He even joked, are you a little shy after seeing Jane Eyre's friend? Xiu, Qin Xiu. Li Jinyan, who was sitting next to the old man, suddenly darkened his eyes. When the old man mentioned Qin Xiu just now, the old man felt that it was a coincidence. Xiu is here. How did you guys meet? Father Fu explained as he entered the living room. He smiled and said, I gave him a lift on the way. Seeing that Yi Qian and Zhou Yin were still standing, Father Fu gestured for them to sit down. After hanging up his coat, Qin Xiu came in wearing a suit for a formal occasion. He looked cool and elegant. Zhou Yin, who had just sat down, saw him come in and held Yi Qian's hand tightly. Qin Xiu, don't tell me that Qin Xiu is also your brother. Our houses are very close, just a few hundred meters away. Yi Qian rubbed her hand that was holding his arm tightly. He was a little curious about Zhou Yin's expression. Why do you seem very excited? After saying that, he quickly glanced at his elder brother. Li Jinyan's jaw tightened. He was just thinking that as long as Yin stayed at home and didn't contact the Qin family, he wouldn't see Qin Xiu at home. However, he never expected to see it. Furthermore, he also saw how Nian's eyes lit up the moment he saw Qin Xiu. Nian Zhenyan's attention was now on Qin Xiu. Wen Fong held Yi Qian's wrist tightly and said excitedly, I'm excited. How can I not be excited? On the eve of the Lunar New Year, Qin Xiu represented the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to congratulate the Chinese New Year. Oh my God, I can switch between languages freely. At that time, I was stunned. She really did not expect to see the young diplomat she saw on TV a few nights ago here. Yin still couldn't believe it. It's Qin Xiu. Am I seeing things? It's that Qin Xiu, right? Yes, it's him. Yi Qian pitted his elder brother. Did you see that? The consequences of taking the initiative were so tragic. A love rival would appear at any time. Since you know him, I don't need to introduce you, right? Li Jinyan coughed and looked at Yi Qian, as if to tell Yi Qian, of course, there's no need to introduce him. The old man pushed him. Does Nian know Xiu too? I was just asking if we should call Xiu over. The four of you still have to play cards for a while. I didn't expect you to know each other too. What a coincidence. Qin Xiu looked at Nian and then at Yi Qian. Finally, he smiled and said, Grandpa Fu, I only know Yi Qian. It's my first time seeing her friends. Chapter 5593. Qin Xiu didn't understand. He didn't know any of Yi Qian's friends. Why do I feel like Nian knows you? The old man was forcing his grandson to make a move. Little brat. He was obviously interested in Yin, and she was also interested in him, but he was sitting there like a statue. Who did he think he was? He was so charming that Yin would take the initiative to chase after him. But if he didn't take a pail of water and take a look at himself, who would like him if he didn't take the initiative? Seeing that the old man had misunderstood, Yin blushed and explained, No, sir. We don't know each other. I saw him on TV. He knows 5 languages. It's too scary. Ha ha ha. So you saw him on TV. But he doesn't only know 5 languages, he knows 8. He's the youngest diplomat in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and also the most handsome one. The old man was generous with his praise for Qin Xiu. In his eyes, Qin Xiu was also his grandson. He felt no pressure praising his own grandson. Qin Xiu looked around in silence. Then his gaze fell on Li Jinyan. He raised his eyebrows slightly. So he must have accidentally barged into a blind date. After thanking the old man for asking him to stay, Qin Xiu took the initiative to leave. Before he left, he didn't forget to give Li Jinyan a meaningful look. Brother Jinyan, you can do it. She must be a good girl to be friends with Yi Qian and invite him to her house. You can do it. Don't be too late. The good girl will become someone else's good girl. Li Jinyan relaxed slightly and got up to walk Qin Xiu out. At the door, Qin Xiu patted him on the shoulder and advised him as an experienced person, do it well. Don't let yourself regret it. If you see the girl you like marrying another man, think about that feeling right now. When he spoke about Li Jinyan, he felt like his heart was being pricked by needles. Xia Jinyuan, who had been answering the phone in his room, finally came out. Fortunately, Qin Xiu had left. Otherwise, this man would be jealous again. Since all the young people were present, the old man was worried that the presence of the elders would disturb the anniversary party, so he said that he wanted to go back to his room to read. You young people have a good chat. An old man like me won't accompany you to chat. Nyin, treat this place as your home. Don't stand on ceremony. Father Fu said, it just so happens that I have something to discuss with you tomorrow. Let's go into the room together. Xia Jinyuan smiled and said, Uncle, Grandpa, I also have something to say. Let's go to the study together. Then, he called for Yi Qian. At this moment, Yi Qian cooperated. He quickly stood up and said, Grandpa, 6th brother, and I will accompany you. 6th brother should be talking about tomorrow's engagement. I'll listen in. Afraid that Nyin would be suspicious, Yi Qian was too embarrassed to explain. Nyin, I haven't had the time to tell you yet. I'm getting engaged with him tomorrow, and it's a little rushed. There are some things that I have to talk about in detail. This was the space where Nyin and Li Jinyan would be alone. Xia Jinyuan was indeed discussing the engagement. 5th brother had given him an idea, and he thought it was a good idea. He wanted to ask for Yi Qian's opinion first before discussing it with Father Fu and the old man. When Nyin heard that his good friend was getting engaged tomorrow, he couldn't care about anything else. He immediately congratulated him and said, You go ahead with your work. Isn't your brother still here? I'll talk to him. Chapter 5594. Talking to her brother was enough? Yi Qian smiled knowingly. Zhou Nyin saw her good friend smile and realized that she had said something wrong. She didn't mean it that way. She just didn't want to make things difficult for Yi Qian. When she saw Li Jinyan, she used him as an excuse. She couldn't possibly say that Yi Qian would be embarrassed if she said that he could go do his work and she could sit alone. Oh no, now it wasn't Yi Qian who was embarrassed. It was her who was embarrassed. Nyin patted her forehead and smiled tiredly. Go do your work. I can take care of myself. I'll watch TV. Yes, watch TV. Go do your work. Don't worry about me. Damn, she said in one breath without panting. It was more tiring than running 10 kilometers. It was mainly because of that guy. Huh. He was a very, very cold person, but he still cared about her. Her cup was hot. So angry. What was he trying to do? Should she take the opportunity to ask him? For a girl, to take the initiative to ask a man, do you have feelings for me? Was she crazy? Or was there something wrong with her brain? Or did she think that this man was so handsome that it was worth it for her to be crazy for once? It seemed like she glanced at him again and again. All right, she had to admit that this man was really handsome. Yi Qian was beautiful. Her boyfriend was also very good-looking, and the coal man was also handsome. Qin Xiu, who had just walked in, was even more handsome than on TV. On TV, he was fair and had a professional smile on his face. He was much more handsome in real life. Little Jane Eyre, you're surrounded by so many handsome guys. You'll really be envied. Forget it. Seeing that the coal man was really handsome, she she would just take the initiative to ask. If there was something wrong with her brain, then so be it. If she didn't ask clearly, she would keep thinking about it. She felt terrible. It was better to suffer for a short time than to suffer for a long time. Yi Qian, who seemed to know everything, said to her brother, "Brother, keep my friend company. When I come out later, I can ask Unyielding if you've been keeping the guest company." He winked at Li Jinyan and left with a smile on his face. Yi Qian and Xia Jinyuan brought the old man to the study. The old man smiled at Yi Qian and said, "Your brother is such a blockhead. He should know what we mean by now, right? My brother just doesn't want to, but that doesn't mean he doesn't know. Grandpa, don't worry. Your intentions are already so obvious. Brother will definitely understand." Yi Qian said with certainty, his eyes full of amusement. "They're both interesting. Once we leave, it'll be an opportunity for them. Captain Xia, don't you agree?" She had already tried to counsel her brother, but it was hard to guess her brother's personality. She wasn't sure how much he had taken in. Could he be more proactive? She could only hope that Unyielding would take the initiative. Yi Qian thought about how she had never taken the initiative to get close to Captain Xia. If she asked Zhou Unyielding to take the initiative to get close to Li Jinyan, she felt that she was making things difficult for Zhou Unyielding. Yes, they're all smart people. They'll understand. Xia Jinyuan also smiled and comforted the old man. Also, I think that Miss Zhou has quite a personality. If Jinyan doesn't take the initiative, I think she'll take the initiative. From the confidence and happiness in her words, it could be seen that this Miss Unyielding came from a good family. Her family environment was quite good. Her parents were very loving, and she had been happy since she was young. She grew up carefree and was pampered. She was a very happy girl. Chapter 5595. The devil's environment was no better than Little Fox's. In fact, it was even more treacherous. He needed a happy and confident girl like Miss Nian to accompany him. Xia Jinyuan also felt that Zhou Unyielding and Li Jinyan were a good match. Father Fu was the only one who looked confused. He had no idea what they were talking about. "What do you mean? Jane Eyre's friend and Jinyan? Are you guys arranging a blind date?" Father Fu didn't know, and Yi Qian didn't want to explain. Father Fu laughed when he heard this. "That's not bad. If you guys agree, then she must be a good girl. She's a SWAT officer, not bad. It's rare to see a female SWAT officer. She must be a hardworking girl. Unyielding is really amazing. She even went abroad to study for a year. She didn't go to an ordinary place. She was able to graduate with excellent grades. She's definitely a hardworking girl." Yi Qian could confidently say that Unyielding's character was 100% good. There was no problem at all. Knowing that the two young people were interested in each other, Father Fu, as her uncle, was naturally happy to see it happen. However, he had to arrange his daughter's engagement first. Yi Qian had already received Xia Jinyuan's signal. When they reached the study, he said, "Grandpa, Dad, I have something to discuss with Six Brother. I'll come to you guys later." Father Fu glanced at his future son-in-law. He pondered for a moment and asked, "About the engagement?" Xia Jinyuan glanced at Yi Qian and nodded slightly. "Yes, I have some new ideas about the engagement. Since we're all soldiers, I want to do something related to our careers. I want to ask for Yi Qian's opinion first. New ideas? A ceremony related to our careers?" Old Master Fu and Father Fu were immediately interested. Yi Qian was also very interested. "Let's talk about it here. You don't have to ask for my opinion first. Go ahead. I'll listen with Grandpa and Dad." Xia Jinyuan saw that his future father-in-law and the old man were very interested, so he did not avoid the topic and told them his thoughts one by one. Downstairs, Li Jinyan and Zhou Unyielding looked at each other. Then, they quickly looked away and picked up their teacups at the same time to hide their awkwardness. "Just now, I didn't mean anything else. I just didn't want Xiao Jian to delay her own important matters because of me. You don't think too much." After finishing half a cup of tea, Unyielding looked at Li Jinyan seriously. Her expression was particularly serious. "I didn't ask you to talk to me. If you have something to do, you can go ahead. Don't worry about me." The last few times, she had taken the initiative to send a text message to him, but she had waited a long time for his reply. Usually it was like this: "I'm very busy right now. Sorry, I don't have time. It's a little late. I still have something to do. Have a good rest. I still have things to do. I've been so busy recently that I don't have time." She? Was he the only one who was busy and she couldn't be busy? She? "I'm also very, very busy. Okay." After that, she stopped texting. She thought this guy should know that she was angry and would take the initiative to contact her. As it turned out, she had been thinking too much. A few months had passed, and she still hadn't received a text from him, let alone a phone call. After saying that, Nyan stopped talking. She sat upright and did not feel uncomfortable. Without the presence of an elder, she would be able to face Li Jinyan alone. Even if she felt uncomfortable, she would still feel very comfortable. Who was more aloof? She was fine with it. If they were going to compete, so be it. Was she afraid of losing? Li Jinyan wanted to talk to Nyan, but he did not know where to start. Seeing that her cup of tea was almost empty and that it was cold, he got up to refill her cup. Chapter 5596. Hey, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? He had only intended to refill her cup of water, but Nyan felt that he had suddenly stood up and was walking towards her. His actions were suspicious, so she had to interrogate him properly. Nyan didn't know what she was thinking, but she grabbed the back of the sofa and hugged it in front of her chest. She gave Li Jinyan a look that suggested she was afraid of a hooligan. Li Jinyan found it funny when he saw her reaction. He bent down and took the porcelain cup from the coffee table. "Don't be nervous. I'll get you some water." Did she think that he would do something inappropriate? Nyan realized that she had made a fuss out of nothing. She put the cup behind her back calmly and replied, "Sorry, it's just a professional habit. When I see a suspicious target making a move, I instinctively think that he's up to no good." Li Jinyan paused for a moment and furrowed his eyebrows slightly. "Do I look like a suspicious target? I already said it's subconscious. Moreover, I did treat you as a suspicious target in the past." As Nyan said that, she lowered her head slightly to let her ear-length hair fall down to cover her reddened ears. Yi Qian wanted to make things convenient, but she also had to be careful of her hair being the target of her opponents during combat. Hence, she cut her hair with a pair of scissors. Her hair was short and slippery. As for Anniversary, she had a haircut that reached her ears. She had a handsome slanted haircut, revealing her beautiful side profile. When she was on a mission, she wore a helmet and sunglasses. When she stood by the side of the street with a gun in her hand, she was so handsome that it was said that many girls had specially brought cameras home to take pictures of her. Nyan's handsomeness was enough to attract both men and women. At this moment, she lowered her head slightly, revealing her most beautiful and handsome side profile. For a moment, Li Jinyan's eyes darkened. "But I'm not a suspicious target." After Li Jinyan finished his sentence, he left. To be precise, he ran away. It was impolite to stare at a girl. He still remembered what old Master Lu had taught him. Seeing him stride away, Nyan raised his head and blew on his cheeks. He rubbed his cheeks and thought to himself, "Nyan, don't be a coward. Admit that you have some feelings for this cold man. Just admit it. Don't be a coward." Zhou Nyan, who had never been a coward, kept cheering herself on. She was ready to have a good talk with Li Jinyan when he came back. However, when Li Jinyan came back, her fingers accidentally touched Li Jinyan's fingers as she took the teacup. The brief skin-to-skin contact made Zhou Nyan cower again. "Drink it. It's just right." Li Jinyan sat down and continued his awkward conversation. Nyan replied with an "oh," and held the teacup out of habit. Like a little squirrel eating chestnuts, he took small sips of the warm tea that was just right. After a brief conversation, the two of them fell into silence again. You. It took a lot of effort for the two of them to construct words in their hearts, but they spoke at the same time. "You go first. You first. Ladies first." The two of them spoke at the same time again, and Li Jinyan quickly followed up. If Xia Jinyuan were present, he would have a headache over his brother-in-law's straightforwardness. Can ladies go first at this time? Impossible. At this time, men should go first. Unfortunately, Li Jinyin did not think too deeply about it. Fortunately, Nian Nian was not an ordinary girl, so she went first. Lang Lang asked, "How about you? Have you been busy recently?" "You shouldn't be busy, otherwise you wouldn't have gone home for the new year." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.